Welcome to College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
We think this is a team that has sustained itself week in and week out. We're deserving.
I think there's no doubt we have a playoff-worthy team. I'm sure they were tuned in watching this, and if they did, I think they saw one of the best teams in the country.
We did have a bad loss, but we've had some great wins. You go to Penn State on the road, go to Michigan State on the road, TCU on the road. You beat your rivals like that, and you come here and win the Big Ten Conference by 3 touchdowns. I think we got to be in the conversation.
It boils down to one thing. Do you want the 4 best teams in or not? It's that simple. Give that coach across the sideline a vote who he doesn't want to play. It'll start with us. I promise you, you don't want to play us.
Selection day. Data points parsed, schedules scrutinized, eye test evaluated. There is something about the college football playoff that creates an insatiable thirst for chaos. Instead, Championship Saturday left us drinking up redemption. Jalen Hurts in the ultimate role reversal. This time, he came off the bench to save Alabama and break Georgia's heart. Kyler Murray looked like a Heisman winner as Oklahoma avenged its only loss of the season and made its case. And Ohio State, once again, Big Ten champion, but does that redeem a season filled with artful dodging and another albatross of a loss? You know, maybe this redemption did create some controversy. We thought it would be a Georgia win that created a dogfight for the final playoff spot. Instead, it was the way Georgia lost and how you want to define best. We are moments away from being able to fill in this bracket, and realistically, we are dealing with 3 teams for 1 spot. You will find out exactly when we do who's in.
14 weeks ago, what did you most wonder? What did they all want? What did we all seek? To matter today. After the upsets and comebacks, the last-minute wins and the late-season losses, through the challenges and tests, among the successes and surprises, to be the answer to the question, the proof to the doubt, the fact to the theory. To be named, elected, chosen. Today. Who's in?
Committee spent the weekend together watching Championship Saturday. There are 13 members who will make this decision, 6 of them in their first year on the committee. Not sure how much you can glean from the first 4 years of the playoff. This is year number 5 of the college football playoff era. The first year that Clemson made it, remember, Dabo promised pizza for everybody, every Clemson fan on the planet. The pizza party tradition continues as Clemson's on its way to its 4th straight college football playoff appearance, if scaled down a bit. And Notre Dame is yet to make the playoff, but they're ready to dance their way into the postseason. Look at that. Those
Enjoy
moves
yourself.
in the middle there.
It's nice to have a pretty good feeling coming in.
Yeah, Holly Road taking a peek in there. Look, as you see, we've got reporters scattered everywhere. The top 3 there all have teams that we have mortal locks to get in. Alabama, Clemson, and Georgia with Laura Rutledge, Tom Rinaldi, and Holly Rowe. The hopefuls on the second row, Jim Latta at Georgia, Jim Wojciechowski at Oklahoma, and Marty Smith at Ohio State. Those last 2, Oklahoma and Ohio State, winning conference championships. Glad to have you with us. College football playoff selection special. Reese Davis, Jesse Palmer, David Pollack, Joey Galloway, Kirk Herbstreit. Chris Fowler is going to join us a little bit later on. Paul Feinbaum. You'll hear from all the coaches. And we do not have the top 6 yet. We'll show you as soon as we get it, right after our graphics producer, Brandon, types in feverishly and puts the 6 teams in. He's the most powerful man in college football for a few minutes.
Remember last year, I was so shocked I left the set. I couldn't
remember.
believe they ended up putting Alabama in there.
What would make you leave the set today?
Georgia being put in there. Mm-hmm. I've said
in a good way or bad way?
In a good way, because they put Georgia in. I think Georgia should be in. I know that this is going to be a good debate before we reveal these teams. I think that Georgia did enough going into the weekend. I was talking about it all week. If they win, they're obviously in. And if they lose a close game, they would have a strong argument. They did more than that. They controlled most of that game, and I just feel that they should be in. If Georgia's in there, it's round 2. I'm walking.
Take a lap.
Because I think the easier answer is Oklahoma.
We have 4 hours. You'll come back.
I'll come back.
Okay.
But I think it's interesting what you said, because we did play those scenarios out. I didn't foresee that coming. I just did. I didn't foresee looking at that game going, I feel like Georgia's the better team, but they lost. I mean, and the bottom line is you're supposed to win. I mean, you get penalized when you lose in this business, and we can go down the list of all these teams. They've all had close losses. And so, I mean, Oklahoma, you could say, could have won the Texas game the first time around. So that happens. But I definitely agree with you. I think Georgia's one of the 4 best, but 2 losses, not a conference champion, going against one lost team that are conference.
That's 4.
But the committee would have to make a big statement in doing that. They would have to make a big, and they have to not be comparable and say they are truly better.
Their definition of best would have to be very narrow to who they think would win the game and nothing else.
So,
Joey,
I think when you say you get penalized for a loss, not necessarily the Alabama loss. It's the LSU loss in the middle of the season that hurts Georgia's chances of getting in. A 36-16 loss to an LSU team. Now, their schedule, their resume, very impressive. The LSU loss came before Florida, before Kentucky, before Auburn. If it came in the mix, I would have a different feel about it, because now you've played some physical teams. You've gone through a stretch of games where it is tough to win. But now you lost that game, then the Alabama loss should eliminate Georgia, in my opinion.
I think the classic debate of deserving versus best, and you talk about deserving in Ohio State and Oklahoma with 1-loss conference championships versus a Georgia team that now a lot of people after that game against Alabama, and I agree. I thought a lot of people think Bama was going to win that game by at least 14 points, but that performance by Georgia, I think, really kind of shook people up. This isn't just about Oklahoma and Ohio State. Georgia looked like one of the 4 best teams in the country with that performance. I think they're a more complete team versus Oklahoma and Ohio State. I think they would beat Oklahoma and Ohio State if they played head-to-head. So that's really what I can't wait to see the committee do. I think Georgia should be 4. I can definitely see an argument for Oklahoma. I can see an argument for Ohio State. I think there are 3 teams deserving of the 4 spot, but I think personally it should be.
That's what makes it so compelling.
Yeah.
Is you can make a case. It's not like it has to be this team. You can make a case for all 3 of them.
And again, I think that makes it a really narrow definition of best. Part of best is how did you deal with the hand you were dealt? And Georgia had a higher hill to climb. Alabama had a higher hill to climb yesterday than the others, but that's part of the deal.
Yeah, when we say complete, I think that is a word that can be used in different meanings. I think Oklahoma is complete in their own way. They outscore you. Not great on the defensive side, but in their mind, they're complete because they outscore you. And you win games by scoring the most points. No matter how you get it, no matter how many points the other team has, if you have the most points, you win the game.
Yeah, that's a fair point. You know, the one thing, here we are in year 5 of the college football playoff. The previous 4 years, a grand total of 3 undefeated teams have made the playoff. We are almost certainly going to have 3 make this edition of the playoff, and we have reporters at all 3 places. Showed you a moment ago, Laura Rutledge in Tuscaloosa, Tom Rinaldi in Clemson, Holly Rowe in South Bend. Laura, we expect Alabama to be number 1. Let's start with you. What's going on in Tuscaloosa?
Yeah, Reese, not a whole lot of concern for Alabama here about their spot in this year's college football playoff. So there's no watch party. The players actually will arrive here for a team meeting around 2 local time, but they're resting right now. And some news in the Hollywood moments of last night of Jalen Hurts. Of course, that's been the big story, but Tua Tagovailoa did go down with that ankle injury, and Nick Saban said to us that he will get an MRI today, and they expect that he should be out for about 2 weeks' time. They'll know a little more after that MRI. We will talk to Coach Saban. You guys will talk to him as well. We'll get as much information as we can about that as possible. But they do feel confident that this ankle injury will not hold Tua Tagovailoa out of the playoff. And as for Jalen Hurts, he said his phone's been blowing up. A lot of people giving him credit. But what really mattered last night to him was that he had visualized that moment for so long. Being benched this year, not having the same opportunities. He wanted to be the guy who came out there and saved this Alabama team, and that's exactly what he did. So Jalen, with a lot of credit being given to him by everybody here in Alabama and people all around. Let's go to Tom Rinaldi at Clemson, where there's a big old pizza party going on.
Laura, thank you very much. 10 years and 1 day after Dabo Swinney was named the head coach at Clemson, he continues to take them to the same destination, and that is history. The first team to go to the ACC Conference Championship game and win it 4 straight years. He's more impressed, however, with the consistency. Yet again, back to the CFB playoff with a chance to win the national championship. Who they play seems to be less of a question than where. Clemson fully expects to be number 2. Many expect they'll play Notre Dame at number 3, but will it be in Texas or will it be in Florida? The pizza party tradition, don't worry, fully intact, but on a smaller scale. 200 pies arrived just around 11:30. Dabo's already addressed the team at 11:45. They've gathered in here now to watch where they will be headed, but there's plenty of buzz here. Will they take on the team in South Bend? For more on Notre Dame, let's go to Holly Rowe.
Thank you, Tom. Well, I see your pizza party, and I'm going to raise you duck crepes, sushi, and an omelet station. That is the brunch that we have going on here at the Notre Dame football facility. All of the guys have gathered in the room behind me here. It's super awkward to be talking with them all listening to us right now, but they're very excited. I could hear players as they filed in saying it's countdown time. We're ready to go. Ian Book, their quarterback, was one of the first in the room and has been waiting patiently for their assignment. They have arrived here today. They'll have a team meeting right after this, but they believe that they deserve the highest possible ranking. They are 12-0 for just the 14th time in school history in 129 years of Notre Dame football. They're perfect. Take that for a complete body of work. They are a complete team ranked in the top 30 in both scoring offense and defense. So we'll see what happens for Notre Dame, but they're pretty excited here. And I have to say the duck crepes were a pretty nice touch. Reese?
Holly, who knew that Brian Kelly followed a menu that has a hashtag Eat Like Jesse?
That's right. Black truffles and foie gras for your playoff party.
I don't even know what that is. I don't even know
I'd be at Clemson eating the pizza.
Yeah, this might not settle the Irish stomachs quite the same. Now, among the teams that are fighting for that last playoff spot, if you look at the hypothetical lines on a neutral field, Georgia would be favored against Oklahoma. Georgia would be favored by a touchdown against Ohio State. Oklahoma and Ohio State, Oklahoma by a field goal. Notre Dame would be an underdog to all of them. All three teams would be favored by at least a field goal.
More importantly, what would the over-under be? The way those teams can score.
Some of those, it might be quite lofty. Here are the reporters from the three teams that are the hopefuls to get that final spot. Jen Latta is at Georgia, Gene Wojciechowski in Norman, Marty Smith in Columbus. Jen, we start with you and the Dogs who had that heartbreaking loss yesterday. What are their expectations today?
Well, I can tell you this, just like the bus ride from Atlanta to Athens last night, it is incredibly quiet here at the Dogs practice facility. There will be no watch party, so certainly no duck crepes happening here. There wasn't one last year either, though, if we're being honest, and that was when the Dogs were essentially a lock to be in the college football playoff after winning the SEC championship. They did not win the championship last night. In fact, it was a hard-fought, tough, very close loss that now has people wondering if they deserve a spot in there. Kirby Smart was on our airwaves last night at about 1 o'clock, again, making a case for why the Dogs should be in. Right now, he and his coaches are upstairs in their offices. They're having meetings, looking over film, getting on the recruiting trail, as a lot of teams are wont to do at this point. Will this be the year that they are back in the college football playoff and have a chance to go after one of these national titles that you see here on the wall behind me? You know, that 1980 year that you see, that was a matchup against Notre Dame that happened to come in the Sugar Bowl. Why is that apropos? Because you're hearing Sugar Bowl as a possible destination for this Georgia Bulldogs team if, in fact, they are not one of the teams in the college football playoff, Reese.
Jen, Georgia Open Lightning strikes, and they get in for the second consecutive year. Gene Wojciechowski is in Norman, where Oklahoma just won the Big 12 championship. Sooners trying to get in the playoff for the third time in 4 years. Gino, how would you describe Oklahoma's level of confidence that their name will be called?
Well, Reese, greetings from Norman, Oklahoma, where if things turn out the way they think they will turn out here with Lincoln Riley and his team, Alabama, Nick Saban, Jalen Hurts, they will never have to worry about buying a dinner in this town ever again. Lincoln Riley is confident, but not overconfident. How did he find out about the news of Bama beating Georgia? Well, he was actually in his car with his wife, Caitlin. Caitlin was scrolling through the phone as they were driving back from Oklahoma City to Norman after arriving back from the Big 12 championship. She's the one that saw that Bama had taken that late lead. So again, yes, confident, not overconfident, Reese. And here's the kicker. You guys are going to announce this around, 12:30 Eastern time. Well, Lincoln Riley is scheduled to get on a plane here 11:30 local time and fly down to Dallas for a handful of recruiting visits. So if you guys don't announce it on time, He's getting on that plane, and he won't know if he's in or out until he checks that phone when he lands in Dallas.
Gene sent Lincoln a quick text. Tell him we do not have the rankings in hand yet. Graphics producer Brandon doesn't have them. We're waiting like everyone else. We expect them somewhere around the bottom of the hour. And Air Sooners should have Wi-Fi on there, so Lincoln ought to be able to check out the results once he gets there. Gene Wojciechowski in Norman, he'll be there with Oklahoma's reaction to whatever the news is. Marty Smith joins us now from Columbus. Ohio State, like the Sooners, hoping to get their third playoff berths. The Buckeyes, Marty, left out last year. They had a second loss. This year it's only one loss, but it's still a bit of an albatross because of the magnitude of it. What's their level of confidence?
Reese, the fans certainly not the only people wondering who's going to get in. Urban Meyer asked me multiple times last night, paint the playoff picture for me. Who did what? What is our opportunity? And I said to him, why do you deserve an opportunity? He pointed directly to two things. Number one, conference championship. He puts tremendous weight on the value of winning a conference. He said it time and again last night, said it to me, said it to the assembled media after the game. And then there's the other side. It's the emotional year that they've had here in Columbus, Ohio. It's been tumultuous. It started with controversy. They lose their coach. They get their coach back. They lose to Purdue. Then they beat their arch rival at home, who was the fourth-ranked team in the country at the time and the number one ranked defense at the time. And then you manage the emotional aftermath of that win. Urban Meyer told me it was a genuine emotional hangover, and win the Big Ten championship. Again, he puts tremendous weight on that, and he said to me, we might be the best conference in the country. It's going to be interesting to see if they get in. Nobody's here yet at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center. There's no watch party, no players, no coaches. We expect them to trickle in as the day progresses here, and when they arrive, we'll get their thoughts on what their fate is, Reese.
And Marty, we will see. I think many might take exception to the idea that they were the best conference in the country, though in the preseason we thought it might be that way, but the Big Ten had a few teams that did not live up to expectations. Here are the pros and cons of the teams that we're talking about that we expect to be the ones considered. And look, UCF deserves all the credit in the world for winning 25 in a row, but I don't think that anyone on our panel, and likely not in the room based on what we've seen, think they rise to this level. Georgia has the best strength of schedule, and according to FPI, they're the third best team, but they lost two games, including a 3-touchdown loss at LSU. Two biggest games, lost them both, LSU and Alabama. Oklahoma's beaten everybody on their schedule. You've heard that one a lot after they avenged their loss to Texas, and the loss was close, but their defense has been horrific, to put it kindly, for much of the season. Ohio State's defense has been spotty. There's more upside to the Buckeye defense than there is to Oklahoma, but just like last year, although it was a second loss to Iowa last year in addition to a loss to Oklahoma that ultimately kept the Buckeyes from getting in, it's still a wide margin of defeat to a team that turned out not to be very good. Among all of those things, what carries the most weight with you?
I think it's the schedule that Georgia played, and I think this committee asking themselves, what would Oklahoma or Ohio State have done had they played that schedule? So Georgia plays number 1, 9, 10, 15, 24. I think there's a good chance Ohio State, Oklahoma would have at least had two losses against that schedule. Now, an interesting thing, too, you have to ask then, what would have happened if Oklahoma and Ohio State had gone and played LSU? I think everyone thinks Alabama beats those other two teams. Would they have lost? I don't think it's such an obvious answer. Would they have lost by 20 points like Georgia did? I don't think that's so obvious either. But I think the schedule and who you play and what you imagine the outcome to be, I think is very important.
I think what's great about this is you could make a case for all three, and you could chip away at all three. Right. I've heard a lot about Ohio State. They struggled against Purdue, obviously. They struggled against teams like Indiana, Minnesota, and go down the line, Nebraska. But you could say the same thing about Oklahoma.
Absolutely.
You could go all the way back to Army, and you could look at Oklahoma State, and you could look at Kansas.
Texas
you could look
Tech.
at Texas Tech. Yeah. If Alan Bowman didn't go out, they'd probably lose that game. So that's what I'm saying. That's why this committee's taking all the way up to 12:30 Eastern or longer, because they're weighing all these things, and it's very difficult to separate Team A from B from C.
Yeah, I think when we look at these conferences, and you mentioned the schedule that Georgia had to play, I believe that Oklahoma and the Big 12 and their style of play would look around and say, hey, we can beat these teams because we score points. And everyone has their own style and their own conference. We always have this conversation about the Big 12 not playing defense, how many points they score. And when they play other conferences, they still score that many points. And that's why I look at this Oklahoma team and their offense and the way they put up points, because they've proven no matter who they play, they put up those kind of points. Can those teams, whether it's the schedule that Georgia ran, whether it's the Ohio State schedule, can those teams put up those amounts of
built like a
points?
Big 12 team. With Dwayne
Offensively,
Haskins,
yes.
Dwayne Haskins,
weapons,
with the weapons he has around him, the two NFL running backs, the up-tempo attack. Haskins right now executing at a level that very few are. And Kyler Murray and he probably both end up in New York City, and they're scoring a lot of points. That's what makes Ohio State so interesting here and trying to compare them to Oklahoma.
But this is why it's fun, because we only have 5 guys up here right now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Make sure I'm math right. We have 5 people. Well, they have 13 people in a room that get to do this. And we can talk about schedules and we can talk about this. The eye test for all these people are going to be different. And what they see and what they place a premium on is going to be different. Like you talked about offense, and the committee has talked about they're blown away by Kyler Murray. You should be. It's awesome to see.
You can only be blown away.
It's really fun. Yeah. And now you can also go look at teams like Georgia and Ohio State. They might make the degree of difficulty week in and week out for offenses like that. With guys in the trenches that they have, they'll make it more difficult for Kyler Murray. They'll get more stops. Can the defenses get stops? This is why it's awesome. And it's so fun. This is why this is the best sport in America, because we get to do this at the end, and your eyeballs are different than mine, different than yours. Different
all these discussions, all these different criteria, all these different things. If the coaches in that room, in that room,
5 of them.
If they say, if the committee looks at them and they say, Coach Beamer and everybody else, who would you not want to play? That's where Georgia would make a very strong case.
I'm not so sure about that.
I'm
not so sure about that. I don't know who wants to see Kyler Murray in that
That's
offense.
true.
But everybody wants to play Oklahoma's defense.
Absolutely right. But who wants to see that offense? Because you know you play them, you got to score 40, 50 points. I don't know that the coaches say that.
I know we're splitting.
I wouldn't want to play Jake Fromm either, by the way.
I know we're splitting hair on semantics. I can't stand that. If you're going to win a championship, you should want to play everybody. Play them, bring them on. I know it's semantics, and I know what you mean when you say it. We don't have any rankings yet. Play anybody. Bring them on, kids. Bring them on. All right, Chris Fowler joining us now. Chris, we've talked a lot about this issue. We talked about it on Scott Van Pelt's show last night about how to determine what best means in terms of evaluating who gets that last spot, assuming there is only one spot left.
Yeah, what's maddening, Reese, is that sometimes different criteria are applied when it's convenient. If you want to punch holes in Oklahoma's resume and their defense, you can easily do that. Same thing for Ohio State. If you think Georgia would beat them head-to-head, that's fine. But then you don't want to use that argument when you apply it to Notre Dame, because people believe that a 12-0 Irish team are a lock to go in. And yet, as you pointed out, head-to-head on a neutral field, would they really pick Notre Dame to beat Georgia or Ohio State or Oklahoma? You can't go by who Vegas would pick to win, in my opinion. I guess I have to punch holes in Georgia's resume. If I think Oklahoma belongs in, and I do, the results have to matter, and they have to matter a lot. And I know their schedule was tough, but if the best thing you can say about Georgia is that they played Alabama really, really tough, that's not enough for me. They went to Baton Rouge, hard place to win, of course, turned the ball over 4 times, got outgained by a lot, and lost by 20. Bama went in there 129-0. I know Georgia's got elite talent. On the hoof, they look gorgeous. It's a great team. But if you have to make the tough choices, I would just lean to the team that avenged its only loss, won its conference. Yes, the defense is horrific, used a good word, but the offense is also historically elite. And there's lots of different ways to win football games, and they almost outscored Georgia last year, didn't get the job done. But I would put the Sooners at 4.
Yeah, so would I, Chris. And I would say that at times the defense has been horrific. They've also made plays. They came up with a safety, came up with a couple of touchdowns in the close win against West Virginia. Fowler's going to be with us a little bit later on. Thanks for being there, hanging out, Fowler. We still don't have the rankings just yet, but we do have Paul Feinbaum joining us right now. So, Paul, in the heart of your SEC territory, last year 2 SEC teams got in that had not played before. And now, if Georgia's included, you potentially could have a 1-4 rematch in the semifinals. What's your reaction to that potential, and is that the way it should be?
I think that's the way it should be. I don't think that's the way it will be. And I think because there are so many other factors involved and the political aspects of it, this committee, or someone on this committee will get to. I had never thought about Georgia getting into the playoff with a loss to Alabama until I talked to Kirk Herbstreit on Monday night. And he opened my eyes to it, and he has convinced me, and I think a few others, probably not the committee, that Georgia is not so much deserving, forget that word, but they are among the best teams. And frankly, I respect what Chris said. Georgia has the loss, but come on. We're looking for the best 4 schools in America. Georgia is one of those. We're going to penalize them because they lost to the best team. Well, who else would have lost to Alabama last night? I think pretty much everyone else, perhaps not Clemson, but I think Alabama would have beaten them too. So that's where I land. I think if the committee does put Georgia in, it will open Pandora's box, which I think college football is not ready for. They don't want to have all these conference champions get left out. So in a couple of minutes, I think we're going to see Oklahoma in there, Reese.
And we don't have the rankings yet, Paul. I'll tell you this. There's been no discussion whatsoever among the commissioners or university presidents for expansion. I'm told there is no appetite for it. You want to see some people get hungry? I mean hungry fast. You let Georgia pop up on number 4, and there will be university presidents and conference commissioners and ADs who are hungry to expand this thing sooner rather than later because they will perceive that the SEC is getting an unfair advantage. Heather Dinich covers the college football playoff and the selection process as well as anyone. She's been following this down in Grapevine, Texas. Heather, we don't have the rankings yet. What's the last day? What's this morning been like for the committee?
Well, I've heard that they met until about 1:30 a.m. Central, and I was told by somebody in the room that they felt really good about where they left with their voting in their top 25 this morning, but that there was still a lot to be discussed. They came back around 7:30 Central, had breakfast, and went right back into the meeting rooms. I think they went right up to the buzzer. I can tell you this, Selection Committee Chair Rob Mullins is waiting to take my seat, so I'm going to get out of the way and let him have it.
All right, Heather Dinich reporting from the college football playoff headquarters there in Grapevine. Okay, here are the selection committee members. Rob Mullins, the athletic director at Oregon, is the chair. 6 of these folks are new. It's their first year on the committee, so precedent might not be the same. No 2-loss team has been in before. And I'm told we just got the rankings. Graphics producer Brandon, it's on you. You're the most powerful man in football. Get it done. We show you when you get back.
College Football Playoff Selection Show is presented by AT&T. More for your thing. That's our thing. And in part by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem. It's not to College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
Oklahoma, Georgia, Ohio State. Who's in?
National Championship Trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. That is the prize for the winner of the college football playoff. This is the 5th year of the 4-team playoff to determine college football's national champion, selected by a 13-member selection committee. This is the criteria used to rank the teams. This is unless you believe a team to be unequivocally better than the teams they're being compared against, conference championships, strength of schedule, head-to-head, outcomes of common opponents without incenting margin of victory, though they should. A 30-point win is better than a 1-point win. It just is. And other relevant factors, which gives them some latitude to exercise some subjectivity, which is a departure from the old BCS days where there was a formula, spit it out, and got the answer. We're going to be on TV for the next hour. No commercial breaks are there in that neighborhood to parse this and talk about it.
Really?
It's 4.
Joey didn't know that. Well, he should have done a bathroom break.
Before the next,
I don't know if Herbie can hold it that
commercial
long.
breaks. Before the next commercial break.
Yeah, because we're going 4 strong.
4 strong today.
Yeah.
We have the top 6. We don't have the entire rankings, but we're going to show you the top 6, and here they come.
This will be interesting. The first one will be interesting.
It will be. The rankings presented by AT&T. The number 1 team is Alabama. 5 years of the playoff. The Crimson Tide in for the 5th straight year. Nick Saban's team has won this college football playoff twice, trying to do it back-to-back. For the 4th straight year, I imagine we're going to see the Clemson
Pizza
Tigers.
party.
at number 2.
Pizza party's excited. All right.
How many of those pizzas is Dexter Lawrence eating by himself?
He gets 4 pies himself. He in 42.
You get 4.
You got 2 more games.
Tigers make their 4th straight college football playoff appearance. They won the national championship in 2016, and there's Clemson at the pizza party. That is a much more subdued reaction than we got a few years ago.
4 years in a row. It's not as exciting.
Not only who's going to be 3 and 4, but who this ends up being will dictate where Alabama and where Clemson end up playing in their game.
And by the way, that has not been determined yet. We don't have the answer to that yet. Part of it, the reason for that will probably be told when we see who number 4 is. At the moment, let's see if Notre Dame held 3 without playing yesterday, and they did. So in the first 4 years of the college football playoff, we had a grand total of 3 undefeated teams included. None of those teams ever won the national championship. So unless whoever winds up 4 wins it, we'll have our first undefeated champion of the college football playoff era.
Notre Dame and Clemson. Notre Dame and Clemson be a great game. Last time they played
in the rain,
it was a great game. Went down to the wire in Death Valley.
Yeah, it was. Notre Dame pushed them hard. Will they be able to do so? Again, we don't know where that national semifinal will be. It will be on December 29th. So it turns out the committee was thinking much like us, at least in terms of 3 teams for 1 spot. Before we reveal those, let's look at the comparison, some of the numbers. As I told you, there's the eye test. There's some subjectivity involved here. FPI is more of a Vegas-based, forward-looking power ranking. Who do you think would win the game? In that category, Georgia has the edge. They also have the edge in strength of schedule, but in strength of record, meaning how you fared against your schedule, it is Ohio State ahead of Georgia, followed by Oklahoma. Game control, this measures at play-by-play how likely you are to win a game throughout the course of each and every snap you have.
Basically how dominant you are.
How dominant you are, and Ohio State is way behind in that category for whatever that's worth.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that speaks about some of the games that we talked about prior to Michigan and the Northwest.
Okay, we've got people hanging on the edge of their seats. Who should it be?
Yes, and I'm one of them.
Who should it be?
Who should it be? Georgia? I think it'll be Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
I think it'll be Oklahoma.
It should be Georgia. I imagine it's going to be Oklahoma.
So Jesse and I together.
Let's have a look at it.
Should be
Right
Georgia.
now, the number 14 play Alabama in the national semifinal. In one of the games on December 29th, it will be Kyler Murray and the Big 12 champion, Oklahoma Sooners. Now, look, you see, this is a very familiar look. 3 of these teams made the playoff last year. Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma. There have been 20 playoff berths in the playoff era. 12 of them belong to those 3 teams, and I'm just told, and this is what Alabama preferred. They didn't mind playing Oklahoma, preferred not to play them in a virtual home game in Dallas, so that will be the Orange Bowl game. Tua Tagovailoa, who's supposed to be healthy, Kyler Murray, top 2 guys for the Heisman, Jalen Hurts had a little bit of a star turn, and Oklahoma gets that 4th spot.
Yeah, and I think they deserve that 4th spot, and we will get a chance to see Kyler Murray and this outstanding offense play against an Alabama team. Can Nick Saban shut down this offense that nobody else has been able to do?
How much fun will that be to see Kyler Murray against that D? I got to believe at 5 is going to be Ohio State. I think if Georgia's going to be in, they'd be at 4. But now I bet Ohio State.
That is telling.
It's a good thing you're not a betting man.
And that to me is that's crazy because you think about it, that means there was clear separation between Oklahoma and Ohio State. Clear. That means it was very clear.
That means it was a Georgia-Oklahoma debate.
And that means it was close to putting in a 2-loss team over a 1-loss conference champion, which means the committee seriously looked at their eyeballs and it mattered a heck of a lot.
Which I have to say, guys, to me is very surprising because you're right. It just feels like throughout this show, the debate really has been, is it Georgia, is it Oklahoma? Just 2 weeks ago, Ohio State put up 62 points against the then number 4 team in the country in Michigan, a team that had won 10 in a row, that had looked dominant in their revenge tour against Wisconsin, Michigan State, pounded Penn State. That was a team that the committee really, really, really respected. They didn't have the same result in the Big Ten title game against Northwestern, but that was a big-time statement for them. I just think it was too much, too late. They were number 10 in the country 2 weeks ago. Oklahoma and Georgia have been 5, 6, 4, and 5 respectively. It was just too much ground for Ohio State.
I think the separation was set up, though, just in what we saw Tuesday, with Oklahoma being number 5 and Ohio State being number 6, and Oklahoma going on to play at number 14 Texas, while Ohio State is playing number 21 in Northwestern. So everything to that point, the Michigan win, the Penn State win, the TCU win, was all calculated on Tuesday and put into, and the ingredients were Oklahoma's a better team. So then the only last point that to be added was a better win by Oklahoma. Georgia sort of jumped in between that, but I don't see there was a path for Ohio State to jump Oklahoma with adding Texas and Ohio State adding Northwestern.
You know, it'll be interesting to see if when we talk to Rob Mullins, and we're going to be on for about the next hour without commercial interruption, and we'll ask Rob these questions. Remember, this is a little bit different than what we all grew up with 60 some odd people voting in polls. You only have 13 people. It doesn't take that many people to sway the vote or change minds. So there might not have been this big separation. And they don't necessarily just go 1 versus 1. The way they vote, you're always in groups of 6 whittling down to 3. So they may compare in the discussion, but they're not just saying, are you taking them or them? It doesn't go that way.
I also think a couple weeks ago, if we go back a couple weeks before the Michigan game, you also saw a UCF team jump over Ohio State. And I thought it said a lot about the committee's thoughts about what they thought about Ohio State's inconsistencies. Yes, they were winning, but they had the blowout loss that the committee obviously they're going to frown upon. It's a bad loss to a decent team. And then you also had played inconsistent. When UCF jumped up, I mean, I think you kind of knew right there that Ohio State, the committee, the way they thought about Ohio State, it was well behind those other teams that were in front.
I guess I'm still caught up in the Oklahoma and Georgia discussion. Not so much Ohio State. Ohio State, as you guys all said, they had a long way to climb despite those solid victories against Michigan and Northwestern. I think the committee has said that 2 losses is too much for Georgia to overcome. Not being a conference champion is too much to overcome. So this is a historical moment as far as evaluating the committee and moving forward, because the eyeball test, to me, clearly Georgia is a top 4 team. 3 of the 4 or 5 people up here, and maybe Reese, you even think Georgia's,
I do.
on the eyeball test, you think Georgia's a better team. But
Right.
the 2 losses and not being a conference champion is the only reason we're going to keep Georgia out. Right?
It's the 2 losses and the fact that there's no big win to offset them.
I understand that.
That's the thing I think
but their
that
strength of
separates it.
schedule
Understood.
is better than anybody.
But at some point, you have to go with what is instead of what might have happened. And somebody else would have to play at Alabama or LSU.
And if we're truly saying, let's just find the 4 best teams, regardless of record, regardless of how they looked in their last game where they weren't lost, then I do believe that Notre Dame has to be in that conversation on who is the 4 best teams. And besides what Vegas said, where Notre Dame would be an underdog, whether it's Ohio State, Oklahoma, or Georgia, Clemson, Alabama, separated. Everyone else, if we're not worried about wins and losses, we're not worried about the 2 losses. We're not worried about the 0 at the end of Notre Dame. They need to be in the conversation if we're trying to find the 4 best teams. Because if that is the case, then I don't believe Notre Dame deserves to be there.
That's the one thing I've wondered about you. You've been adamant that your eyeballs tell you that Georgia is one of the 4 best.
Right.
Yet you had Notre Dame in. And I don't think your eyeballs tell you that about the Irish.
They don't. Notre Dame would be in that mix with Ohio State and Oklahoma. You and I were talking about this before. I don't think Notre Dame necessarily plays a system and a style that's conducive to being able to blow people out and impress you and say, man, Notre Dame's definitely better than this team or that team. They play great football on both sides of the ball. They're very efficient. They play complementary. It's like a team from the 80s or 90s. So it's hard for you to look at them and put their offense on the same table with Oklahoma.
Are you picking
Ohio
them?
State.
Would you pick them to beat Oklahoma, Ohio State, Georgia?
Neutral,
neutral
not Georgia.
field? Would you pick Notre Dame? Because
Probably not.
And that's what I'm talking about when I look at this. And they're a great team, and you're right. You watch them; they are solid, and they're not going to blow out a lot of people. Yeah, exactly. And the way they play the game, and watching the USC game, and watching it again, going back and just studying the tape, USC was presenting an issue for Notre Dame. Great coaching by Brian Kelly, what he did, the adjustments they made offensively in the second half. But USC and their speed, their athleticism was presenting a problem for Notre Dame. The same problem that Ohio State, Oklahoma, and Georgia would present for Notre Dame. And that's why I say, if we're just talking 4 best teams, Notre Dame has to be in that discussion.
I think one of the big reasons Oklahoma gets in, I think one thing the committee's showing us too, Oklahoma's beaten everybody on their schedule now. And getting that rematch against Texas, who they lost to by 3 points early in the year, getting a chance to get them back, they can now say, we've beaten everybody that we played this year, just like Alabama did, just like Clemson did, and just like Notre Dame did, which is, I think, the biggest reason why Notre Dame is
with that being said, then remember this moving forward. They struggled against Army. They struggled against Kansas. They struggled against Texas Tech. Oklahoma State. But they won. So maybe for this committee, it doesn't matter when you play inferior teams and win. You find a way to win 60 to 55 as long as you win.
I think you could ask any coach in college football, and we all know this, they tell you how hard it is to get a win.
Absolutely.
Every single Saturday with 18 to 22
No matter who you're
year-olds,
playing.
it's very different.
For y'all with Notre Dame, real quick, like I understand what you're saying about Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame they lack the elite upper echelon playmakers and players. Yeah. But I'll say this: when you start to poke holes, there's not holes to poke at. You go to Oklahoma, you got severe holes to poke at. So I think when you look at Clemson, Alabama, and Notre Dame, I think there's less holes to poke. Arguments, they're solid everywhere across the board. That's what I think. When you start discussing, I think it needs to be brought up about Notre Dame that they've been consistent, they've won all their games, and there isn't a glaring weakness in their game that you look at and say that they're really deficient or really bad.
If you're just going to go on what's happened during the season, this would be a great year for the BCS.
2 teams.
2 teams. Yeah. There are 2 teams who've separated.
Yep.
You know, and done everything.
The Roy bus.
Yeah.
The Roy bus.
Yeah, the rest of y'all. Yeah, that's right. There's Alabama, Clemson, and the rest of y'all.
Yeah.
Now that doesn't mean that they can't lose. For Oklahoma with that offense, they're capable of beating anybody.
Absolutely.
And
with that defense, they've shown they're capable of losing.
That is true.
Alabama playing a 60 to 50 game.
There were 2 times
before.
It's
going to be
There were
fun.
2 times before when we got to this point where I kind of looked at the 4 teams that got in and kind of thought one of the teams really had no shot. In 2015, Michigan State, I didn't think they had a shot against Bama. And the next year, Washington against Bama, I didn't think they have a shot. I think with these 4 teams, I think they can all win their semifinal matchup. I do, including Oklahoma because of Kyler Murray and that historic offense.
Yeah,
It'd be fun to watch.
Oklahoma's only the 2nd team in the playoff era not to finish in the top 4 of the playoff prediction, of the strength of record, I should say. They finished 6th in there. So we're going to have the second one. The first one was Ohio State in 2014, who was a 4 seed, who beat Alabama number 1 and went on to win the national championship. A little historical perspective. Rob Mullins, who is the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, joins us now. Rob, we spent a lot of time since last night talking about who would get that final spot among the teams that aren't undefeated in the Power 5. How would you describe the discussions as it pertained to Oklahoma and what gave them the edge over Georgia and Ohio State?
Well, we spent considerable time on it, as you might expect. And in the end, one-loss conference champion with their only loss being in a neutral field, close loss to a ranked team, which they avenged in their conference championship. As we've talked about the last several weeks, obviously, dynamic offense. And, their defense has made some big plays in the last couple of weeks.
We've had a robust discussion. I asked you this last week, and candidly, you dodged it a little bit. How do you define best? How narrow is that definition? And how much of it is based in the room on who you think would win the game if these 2 teams play? Because Vegas thinks it, we think it. A lot of us would pick Georgia to win these games head-to-head. How is that discussion handled?
Well, there's a lot of discussion, and as you might expect in the room, we're looking at full body of work. We understand the charges to get the 4 best teams, and when you're looking at all of that, every bit of that matters. Eye test, data, all of that gets discussed. And I can assure you that every combination was discussed in the room. There was at least one member on every one of these combinations for 4, 5, and 6 that was represented a case for each of those teams to be 4. There was strong debate. There was even division in the room. And we went early into the morning and got back at it again after a couple hours of sleep.
So how did Georgia then wind up between these 2 one-loss conference champions?
Well, just as I said, every combination was vetted. Looking at their full body of work, their resumes side by side. In the end, what we decided was amongst the group of 3, Oklahoma, Georgia, and Ohio State, that the committee voted that it was not, no one was unequivocally better than the other. So then we leaned on the protocol. And as we leaned on the protocol, and you know what those are, we're looking at head-to-heads, conference champions, strength of schedule, and results against common opponents. The vote came out that Oklahoma was 4, Georgia was 5, and Ohio State was 6.
Okay, so you look at with Georgia now. They're the one that didn't have a conference champion, but they did have the strongest strength of schedule, at least according to the metrics that I've looked at. Does that indicate that strength of schedule can trump conference championships?
Well, we look at all of them. And in this instance, the conference champion, when one team wasn't unequivocally better than the other, we went to the protocol. And on this one, the one-loss conference champion carried the day.
And Rob, we've talked a little bit about Notre Dame too. Was Notre Dame close to moving down? Were they unequivocally among the top 3?
There was a discussion relative to all of the top 6, but absolutely Notre Dame was discussed in that 3-4-5 range as well. And the committee felt that they deserved, with their 12-0 record, their body of work, wins over Michigan, wins over Northwestern, win over Syracuse, balanced team, that they deserve that number 3 ranking.
All right, Rob Mullins joining us. Rob, thank you for your time all season. Look forward to seeing you during the college football playoff, and appreciate you answering these questions for which often there are no concrete answers.
Exactly.
Rob's going to join us a little bit later on. Rob Mullins, who is a gentleman and the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Chris Fowler rejoins us now. So, Chris, you and I have discussed this. We both anticipated and thought it should be Oklahoma. What was your reaction to the decision, what Rob had to say about it?
Well, Reese, I thought the answers to your questions were interesting because no matter what he says, the explanations are going to be flawed in the minds of people who support Georgia and Ohio State. Interesting that Georgia landed between 2 conference champions. I agree that it was a close call. I agree they would have fallen in that same cluster. You're splitting hairs, and they went with the team that won a conference championship, not the team that maybe the football people in the room thought would win head-to-head. So the status quo in terms of no 2-loss teams getting in has been maintained. I think Kirk's point is a good one. Maybe we'll get the breakthrough. Did politics play a role in the era we live in? Many millions of people will be convinced that politics did play a part, that they didn't want to put 2 SEC teams in this bracket again and deny 3 power conference champions a place in that bracket. So I'm satisfied with the 4. Looking forward to the matchups. Certainly have a couple questions. I think Saban reassured people that Tagovailoa's injury is not serious, the ankle injury, the latest of his injuries, because he hasn't really been healthy all season. My question on Oklahoma's side would be, Marquise Hollywood Brown looked to have a foot injury that he was distraught about, in tears, in a boot after the game, being consoled by the school president. I know you guys will chew on the matchups coming up, but I wonder if that played a part, because without their best receiver, that offense isn't quite as elite as it has been. I certainly hope that given 4 weeks, he can get healthy, but you doubt if it's a broken foot that he's going to be ready, and that could be a key part of that matchup. Now,
not definitive, Chris. There have been indications this morning from Norman that we received that they do expect Hollywood Brown to be ready for the playoff. Now, we're always, if true, we're always cynical this time of year, and you don't want to give the committee any little extra thing, so we'll see. But the indications were that was the case. All right, Chris Fowler joining us from South Beach, as we now know who will play in the college football playoff. Clemson is going for the 4th straight year. The Tigers, with that vaunted defensive front, Farrell, Wilkins, Austin Bryant, all stayed in school. Dexter Lawrence didn't have a choice, but they all came back and wreaked havoc for the most part. Kelly Bryant started the season as a starter, saved them at Texas A&M, but then decided to leave so he could maintain his redshirt year and play, because Trevor Lawrence emerged as a burgeoning superstar, ACC Rookie of the Year. ETN led the ACC in rushing. They clobbered Pittsburgh last night to win the ACC championship once again. And going to the college football playoff, and let's wonder what Dabo thought when found out that they were going to go to the playoff and take on Notre Dame. Dabo's selfie dancing.
Yeah. Tech savvy.
There we go. He knows it.
Tech savvy.
Millennial. He's a millennial.
And we're joined now by the head coach of the Tigers, Dabo Swinney. Dabo, congratulations on making the playoff again. First of all, what was the motivation for those moves? Just making the playoff or finding out your opponent?
What was the motivation for what?
The moves that you just put out there, those dance moves you just put out.
I don't know. It was spontaneous. We're just excited to be in the playoffs. Man, this is what we work for all year long, and to have an opportunity to get together with our team and celebrate with all of our families, this is a big deal. And we're ready to go to Dallas, man. I've never been to the Cotton Bowl, so I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, have an opportunity to play in AT&T Stadium in Arlington. It'll be a tremendous venue for you for sure. Great opponent in Notre Dame. You know quite a bit about Notre Dame. Played a great game with them just a few years back. How much have you seen of the Irish this year?
Well, we've had a couple of common opponents, and actually got a chance to study them a little bit. Obviously getting ready for Pitt, but what a year Notre Dame has had. I mean, I think Coach Kelly is Coach of the Year. I mean, it's amazing what they've done with the schedule they've played, to be able to go on the road and some of the venues that they've had to go and win at. Just congratulations to them. We're looking forward to a great matchup. We got an unbelievable amount of respect for Notre Dame here at Clemson, and obviously a couple years ago we had an epic battle in a hurricane. So we won't have to worry about that. We'll be in a great dry environment, and should be a lot of fun.
4 of the 5 years, Dabo, in the playoff, it's become the expectation at Clemson. Why is it important to you to continue to make sure you celebrate that type of achievement?
Well, listen, every year it's a new journey, it's a new team. Nothing carries over. It's great what we've done in the past, but you got to prove it and you got to earn it every year. And I just think it's important to celebrate your season. And, had we gotten beat last night, we'd still be here. You need to know that. We still had this meeting planned because we still would have celebrated our season and be excited about wherever we would have gone for the postseason. I just think it's important that we don't ever lose sight of that and that we have great appreciation for this moment. Man, these guys and our staff, they put in an enormous amount of work and just heart and effort and commitment. They've been grinding since January last year to get here. So this is where we are, and we want to. It's a big deal. Now we got pizza. I mean we're low budget here, but pizza still works.
Hey, get off that wallet, kid. That was plenty. It's plenty for you. Hey, listen. Since the start of October,
oh boy,
you guys. You got yourself a hat.
Put it on the correct way, Coach. Put it on the correct way.
I want to make sure I got it on right, but they say Dallas is a nice place, so.
Get him a toothpick. Get him a toothpick down there.
We're ready.
This
is a Rinaldi prop right here.
You better wear that thing the right way, or a certain Coach Stallings will be all over you for wearing a hat the wrong way, right?
Yeah, I got to get my boots out. I got to work on my apparel. Never been to Jerry's World. Excited about it. Our guys are excited about it, but we're gonna paint Dallas orange.
Dabo, they'll take those $2 bills down there. They'll spread them all over the Dallas area, I'm sure. Dabo, congratulations. Yep. Thanks for being with us. And let me tell you one last thing. When you go to Dallas or the Dallas area, you're not riding that Roy bus, pal. You're up front on the front bus.
Oh, we're still on the Roy bus.
You're not.
We're still on the Roy bus, but we're glad to be on it. Hey, come here. Show me that back of that shirt right here. Look. This is y'all's staff guy right here. Look, he even knows we're on the Roy bus.
Wiley.
But that Roy bus has a great parking spot, though. It's been there 4 years
We need
in a row.
bigger back there from Wiley. We couldn't read that.
Hey, Dabo, thanks.
Hey, appreciate y'all.
All right, buddy.
Coach.
Dabo, congratulations. Hey, Case, look, I know you're going to follow us all season. ROY, Roy, stands for the rest of y'all. He said it was Alabama and the rest of y'all. DirecTV, more for your college football thing, providing fans with a look at Clemson's celebration after winning the ACC championship against Pitt last night. Look, Christian Wilkins.
He didn't break out the split
I
yet.
can do the splits.
That's coming later on.
Hurt myself watching him do that.
I also see Kirk do that. That's amazing.
Yeah,
right?
Do that before game day or after game day.
That's a hard thing to do. And you saw Dabo flare up a little bit last week, bristling. It was a message to his team, but bristling at some of the contention that beating South Carolina for fifth straight time at 21 wasn't good enough. But they were able to maintain that joy. I think it's a hard thing to do, Kirk.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a team that I think keeps their foot on the accelerator despite all the success. Incredible senior class. Think about what they've accomplished. 4 ACC championships. 4 playoff appearances, already won national championship, and they don't let up. And I think that game against South Carolina, much like some of the games in the past, helped them refocus and get ready, not just for the Pitt game, but for Notre Dame and the national championship.
And I think the fact they got here with a true freshman quarterback in Trevor Lawrence, to me, is one of the greatest stories, I think, in college football since I've been here at ESPN for 12 years. Coming from a guy that's played as a true freshman, I can tell you it's very, very humbling. It's very, very easy to struggle. For a guy to enroll, had a lot of accolades, and to come in and enroll, compete, win the job a few games into the season, kind of manage Kelly Bryant leaving the program, but to play in 13 games at the level he did and lead the conference in QBR, to me, is ridiculous. And yes, they have great defense and they've got phenomenal athletes surrounding him. But for a true freshman right out of high school to lead this team to the number 2 spot entering the playoffs, to me, mind-blowing.
Dabo Swinney and Clemson are now doing what we've always given Nick Saban and Alabama credit for doing, coaching from the top down. They're at the top, and they've been there for years, and they're always going to get everyone's best shot when they get a shot at them, and they've gone undefeated. The switch at quarterback, not just the fact that it is a freshman quarterback, but the guts to make that call. In the middle of a season when you're winning games, you change quarterbacks because you're looking ahead to this moment. And you're thinking, how do we get better? How do we win a national championship? Not just the ACC, but how do we get to the top? Got there last year, couldn't pull it off. Now, how do we win it? Go with a passing quarterback, even though a freshman, great gutsy call. It's worked out. Now we see what happens next.
But that's why, to me, that's why they're here. They're a talented team, just like a lot of teams in the country, but it's because of that interview. It's because of Dabo Swinney. It's because of the way he talks to his players. Listen, we've seen so much. How many interviews are coaches going to do that right now? I mean, are you going to get Nick Saban to do that? Are you going to get Urban Meyer to do that?
What,
are you
Rinaldi could.
Are you going to get Chris Peterson to do like? It's hard to enjoy the journey. There's so much to do always. That guy always enjoys the journey, and his kids enjoy the journey. He said they were going to celebrate this regardless. They're going to celebrate a great season regardless today. To manage all the success and all the turnover and all the talented guys you lose every year, and to be able to keep all those defensive linemen was because of the head guy. It starts with him.
It's the culture that he's been able to
It's unreal.
Win or lose, it's the culture. Should say this. Kelly Bryant being replaced by Trevor Lawrence, what we've watched from him, had everything to do with the playoff loss last year to Alabama as much as it had to do with his performance against Georgia Tech or anybody throughout the season. So they knew what they were doing when they moved 16 in there. Now we'll see if it pays off when they get ready for this playoff.
And you talk about the journey this year, David, and we talked about the key game early at A&M. Kelly Bryant plays early, makes a big throw, comes back in the game, though, in the second half, runs, makes a couple throws to get the win. What about Chase Bryce?
Fourth and 9.
A redshirt freshman quarterback.
Had the vest on. Had the green vest on when they called him, and he had to build a vest to go in the game.
A really good Syracuse, a team in Syracuse that ended up being way better than anybody else thought. Trevor Lawrence goes down early. Let's get the redshirt freshman with the vest to go in, and then late in the game on fourth down, thread the needle, spin the magic bean, and help keep this team's undefeated season alive. What's happened at quarterback for this program all year long is so hard. It's just so hard to fathom and explain how they're able to overcome that.
And I tell you who wanted Georgia to get in would have been Clemson and Notre Dame. Wanted Georgia at number 4. To have a physical battle with Alabama, beat each other up, and then have to get ready for a national championship game. So I guarantee you, when you're watching these rankings and Oklahoma gets in, and if you're Clemson and you're thinking Alabama might be that team, you don't have that situation now where Alabama team has to play a physical football game. It's going to be a tough football game.
Yeah. Well,
don't get me wrong, it's going to be tough.
Their defense might be very winded, though, having to chase Kyler Murray around. That's the time.
Winded is different than bruised.
And you get a couple extra days this year as opposed to last year between the semifinals and the final. Last year it went from the 1st to the 8th, just a week. Couple extra days this time. We're approaching the top of the hour, just reaching it now. College Football Playoff Selection Show on until 4 o'clock Eastern Time. Brian Kelly, who has the Irish in the playoff for the first time, will join us in a little bit. They will take on Clemson in the Cotton Bowl. It'll be Oklahoma and Alabama in the Orange Bowl. Nick Saban also going to join us in just a little bit. We're hoping to hear from Lincoln Riley, who's out recruiting.
I don't believe he got on the plane before he found out the rankings.
Or if they do, he has Wi-Fi on the plane.
Yeah, he had to know.
Yeah, it's an expensive plane.
There's some Oklahoma oil money out there. That plane surely has Wi-Fi. Notre Dame took it out on Michigan in the season opener, winning by a touchdown. They really controlled that game, maybe a little more than the score indicated. Michigan made a late run. Ian Book, again, like Clemson, took over, made a quarterback change during the season against Wake Forest. The Irish offense looked completely different. It trailed in the second half against Pitt. Now, this was during midterms week, and I know unless you're a Notre Dame person, you probably don't get what that means. They're always flat that week, rallied to win the game. They have undefeated seasons, only the 3rd time in the last 30 years, including once when they won the national championship in 1988, and the other time when they played for it in 2012, and they go to the college football playoff for the first time as Brian Kelly joins us now. Brian, what was it like for you to not have a game yesterday, to know you'd finished an undefeated season and know you were likely to get in the news that you're going to be in the college football playoff?
Boring. I'm a football coach. We like to work. I had to do a lot of chores around the house. You're on recruiting. my wife had a ton of things for me to do around the house, so I would have rather been coaching.
What was the one thing you didn't want to do around the house that you ended up doing yesterday?
I had to bring all the patio furniture in that had 6 inches of snow on it.
Oh.
Yeah, I hate that too. That's a rough day. It's great though. Notre Dame's had such a great season. You made the bold move of making the change at quarterback, and then you still had Brandon Wimbush come back in the season and help you when Ian Book was injured at one point. What do you think that decision to change quarterbacks did for your team this year?
Well, we had to look at it, as a whole, what it would do for us, and we were playing too many snaps, really, especially on defense. I think our defense was on the field for Vanderbilt for close to 90 snaps. We just needed to be more efficient offensively, get our defense off the field. I thought that, Ian could do that for us, and we could still win football games with Brandon. He's a terrific football player. We won a lot of games with him. He's 12-3 as a starter, but we needed to do this for the entire football team, and it proved to be a good move for us.
Ryan, we've had this discussion quite a bit amongst ourselves that this Notre Dame team, we believe, is different from the one in 2012 in terms of being able to match up against the elite. In your judgment, how does this team compare to your 2012 team that was undefeated and played for a national championship?
Well, it's a much more balanced football team. Offensively, we have so many more weapons. We were playing with a young quarterback. We got there on really the shoulders of a defense. And keep in mind, we played in 2012 maybe arguably one of the most physical football teams in the last 20 years in that Alabama team. I haven't seen a team that has mirrored that 2012 Alabama team as well. So let's give them a little credit as well. We were a good football team, but we're nowhere near the balance of this football team on offense, defense, and special teams.
You get a shot at Clemson now, also another physical team. I'm sure with the number of ACC opponents that you play over the course of the season, the fact that you played Clemson a couple of years ago, that you know something about them. What have you seen from the Tigers this year?
Well, obviously you start with their defensive front, outstanding front four, great young quarterback at the end at the running back. It's, again, I think of the top four teams, I think they're a combined 50-1. So when you get to this point, these are all really good football teams. Offensively, they have all the weapons, but defensively, they have those as well. So we know who we're playing. Dabo's done an incredible job of building a consistent elite football team year in and year out. But we know what we're going to get, and that's the great part about it. So our guys are excited about the opportunity, and we continue this journey that we've been on since January.
Brian, you've made some significant changes in the way you approached your program. You talked to your players, you listened to them. Those adjustments in the way you relate, your involvement with all aspects of the team, what's it like for you now to at least in some level see that pay off in this opportunity to make the playoff?
Well, we're 22-3 in our last 25 games. So this has been, 2 years of sticking to a process and a plan that, anybody in business or a CEO, when they needed to make a pivot or an adjustment, to their company and wanted to see that come together, I'm seeing it come together in a positive way. So we had to make some adjustments, certainly, and those are never easy. They're hard, and to stick with them, I'm proud of our staff and our players that they have been consistent in their approach to the adjustments and changes that we've made. But the one thing that we've done is that we've stuck to the mission. That's to graduate all of our players and to win a national championship, and that hasn't changed.
Brian, congratulations on this. Look forward to seeing your team compete against Clemson in the Cotton Bowl coming up on December 29th. Congratulations, my friend.
Thanks, Reese. Appreciate it.
All right, Brian Kelly, head coach at Notre Dame. We take a look at the Fighting Irish and their road to the championship. Brought to you by Mercedes-Benz. Undefeated regular seasons in the last half century. Lou Holtz won the last national title for the Fighting Irish in 1988, 1973. They had an epic game against Alabama in the Sugar Bowl and won the national championship in the Associated Press. Now 2018, they'll take on Clemson in the college football playoff era. Notre Dame, do you see a big difference in what level of challenge they'll give to Clemson as compared to what we saw in 2012?
It'll be better. 2012 was bad. This is a better Notre Dame team. This is a more skilled Notre Dame team. And I think just what Coach said is right, the quarterback spot. I don't think Ian Book is he isn't the dynamic player like Kyler Murray or Tua or even Trevor Lawrence. But he's a point guard. He's a distributor. He'll get the ball out of his hands. They got big wide receivers on the outside they can take advantage. And I'll say this, their passing game versus Clemson's secondary will decide the ball game. Nobody's going to line up and pound Clemson. I don't think any of us think that will happen. But I think now with Ian Book at quarterback in the system playing these games, spreading the ball around, go after Clemson's safeties a little bit in the back end, I think they'll have a chance to have success and keep the game close.
Brian Kelly's one of the best coaches in America, and it showed in the USC game in the second half, the adjustments they made. And every time I've watched this Clemson defense, as outstanding as they are, at times they lose the running back out of the backfield. One of the adjustments that Notre Dame made against USC, throwing the ball to Dexter Williams out of the backfield. USC brought a blitz, they hit the back of the backfield, down the sideline for a huge score. And so this matchup gets interesting to me because this Clemson defense, as outstanding as they are up front, they like to blitz. And so they'll bring blitzes from different places. The attack of Notre Dame and getting the ball to their backs out of the backfield, not just running it, but throwing it to them, is going to be an interesting wrinkle in this game to see who can win that matchup.
I've had both these teams quite a bit this year, and I think the personality of the two teams fit. I think it's going to be a good battle. I think Ian Book is the wild card to me because what Joey's bringing up as far as the style of offense that Notre Dame plays, if you have a quarterback that can buy a little bit of time, because Clemson does take risks. It does leave their safeties one-on-one and at times leaves their corners one-on-one. David brings up the taller wide receivers from Notre Dame, Chase Poole and Boykin. Those are matchup nightmares. The big tight end Mack is a tough matchup. So I think, can they contain Ian Book? Can they slow down Dexter Williams, try to get Book into obvious passing situations? I think will be a big factor.
Shout out to Claypool.
Shout out to Chase Claypool. He's Canadian, by the way. I just want to get that in real quick before we continue. Joe, you were talking about Brian Kelly, and I think he's one of the best coaches in America. And I think oftentimes the evaluation for head coaches isn't just wins and losses or championships or recruiting. I think it's how you manage your staff. Rewind 2 years ago when Notre Dame goes 4-8, and a lot of people thought Brian Kelly should be fired at Notre Dame. He completely overhauls his coaching staff. New offensive coordinator.
Redefined himself.
Defensive coordinator, special teams coach, strength coach. He starts doing yoga. And all of a sudden, this team wins 10 games. This past year, he loses Mike Elko as defensive coordinator at Texas A&M. Clark Lee takes over. And this defense is still great. So kudos to Brian Kelly for not just managing his team and the recruiting, getting this team ready to play week in, week out and go 12-0, but the decisions he made to himself personally, but I think also more importantly to his staff 2 seasons ago, really set himself up for this playoff run.
Yeah. You know, I had an assistant coach who talked to him about a position on his staff and ultimately chose not to be a part of that because he felt like Brian Kelly was at the end of the run, close to the end of the run. Now, it worked out okay for this coach, but I think the change in perception is valid.
Clearly, that coach did not know about the yoga, though.
Bikram yoga,
downward dog, and
difference.
Modern Warrior 2, brutal.
We say that, but remember the red face and I mean, he was in your face, as intense, as vulgar as you could possibly be. And he's done a great job. That takes pride. That takes a level of commitment to do that.
We're in the 5th year of the college football playoff era. The number 1 seed has never won the national championship. Alabama has made every college football playoff. Well, quarterback controversy early, at least quarterback competition might be better, as Tua Tagovailoa took over for Jalen Hurts and had the most prolific season in the history of Alabama quarterbacks, single-season record for touchdown passes in the race for the Heisman Trophy. Alabama become the highest-scoring team in SEC history, and they outscored SEC opponents by 261 in the regular season, and then had the epic comeback against Georgia to win the SEC and to move back into the college football playoff. As we take a look at the plan to play, brought to you by Northwestern Mutual, and we're pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Crimson Tide, and Nick Saban. Nick, it was quite a comeback for your team yesterday, and you could sense the emotion from you afterwards. What made you so emotional about seeing Jalen Hurts have that opportunity and then come through?
Well, it's really kind of unprecedented in college football for a guy to go win 26 games and then not have his job anymore. He's done so much for this program. I think he's handled things with such high character and class, and the way he's supported his teammates this year. It was great to see him get an opportunity, even though Tua has been one of the best players in college football all year long. It was great for Jalen to take advantage of the moment, and he did a fabulous job when he got the opportunity to get in there those last 2 drives.
And what do we know about Tua's injury right now, where that stands?
Right, well, we did an MRI this morning. He has a high ankle sprain. The way we've treated those here, and we think Dr. Andrews and Dr. Kane do a really good job with our players, is to scope those things, and it helps the healing process. Most of the guys that have had this done, it's about a 2-week deal. So hopefully by the time we start practicing again, Tua will be back on the field and ready to go.
You had this matchup against Oklahoma, and like your offense, they too have been among the most dynamic offenses in the country. I think many would say your 2 offenses have been the 2 best. How much have you seen of Oklahoma and Kyler Murray in this offense?
Well, I haven't seen a lot, but I've heard a lot, and I did watch a little of the game yesterday before we went to our game, and they're pretty a dynamic group. They've got a lot of weapons. They make a lot of explosive plays. We played against him a little bit when he was at A&M, and he is a very dynamic guy in terms of his athletic ability, his quickness, his ability to make plays with his feet, and he's turned into a really, really efficient passer who has good skill guys to make good plays to go along with the rest of their weapons.
Coach, I'm just curious, the story about Jalen it's almost a Hollywood script. What did you say, if anything? I know things happened very quickly when he went out, or maybe after. Was there an exchange with you and him about the moment before or after that you'll always remember?
Well, what I said to him when we went out on the field, I said, this is your time now. All right, this is what we've talked about all year long, that this may happen at some point in time, and you're going to have the opportunity. That's why we've played you a lot. To get you ready for this. This is why you worked all year to improve, and Jalen has improved a tremendous amount this year. So it was great for me to see. I love both of these guys. They've done great things for our program, and I hate it that Tua got hurt in the game, but it was very, very emotional for me to see Jalen have the opportunity and take advantage of it, and our team and our fans respond to him in a positive way.
Along those lines, Nick, as the last Hail Mary from Georgia fell incomplete, the camera cut to you, and Jalen reached in, sort of kind of hugged you and said something to you. In that moment, do you remember what he said?
I didn't, because I was in a position for some reason that I couldn't see whether the ball was incomplete. I saw it get tipped, but I didn't see where it went. So I didn't know if they caught it, we caught it, nobody caught it. So I was a little bit like, and we've lost games. I've lost games as a defensive coordinator and head coach on those, and won games on those kind of plays. So I never take them for granted. So I wish I would have hugged them back, and I certainly would have if I'd have known that ball was incomplete, but it took about 2 seconds for me to figure it out.
Well, your team had blown out everybody, and yesterday was a completely different type of test. How does that benefit your team going into the playoff?
I think there's a lot to learn, but I think people sort of characterized our team as a little bit of front runners because we always got ahead in games and didn't ever have to play from behind, really didn't get in that many close games. But I think this, says something about the competitive character of the team, because we didn't execute extremely well in the game on either side of the ball, but played hard, kept fighting, and got the momentum of the game in the end and made a great comeback. So I think this speaks something about what this team is capable of when they get in a tight game or they get behind in a game. They can show the resiliency to come from behind.
And Nick, congratulations on making the playoff again. 5 years of the playoff and 5 times you've been involved. And congratulations on the SEC. Look forward to seeing you in Miami.
All right, thanks, guys. Have a good day.
All right, Nick Saban, 13-0 again. Number 1 seed, hasn't won it yet. They did something a little bit different last year. They got their guys fresh. It certainly paid off for them. And you wonder, because he's talked about mental fatigue, whether that team needs a little a mental break right now before the playoffs.
I think physically, too, because they grind harder than anybody else in their preparation for a game on a Saturday. And I think this team probably benefits the most, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally because of the way they prepare for an opponent. I'll tell you what, I think that we keep talking about Kyler Murray and what he can do to the Alabama defense. I think on the other side, I wonder if this is going to be one of those games potentially like the Big 12. Remember we saw Georgia play Oklahoma last year and we thought, all right, now we'll see how the Big 12 does against the SEC. And Baker went up and down the field for much of the game until in the second half. Now we get a chance to see another Big 12 high-profile offense now against Nick Saban. I can't wait to see that, but also can't wait to see the other side of the football.
And I think that's important because the hardest thing to do, and you could tell it shell-shocked Georgia last year, is to prepare for the tempo. It's not human. Like, it is not – there is no amount of practice. You can get two balls out there and you can go over here and you can go over here. They run plays so fast and
with
they know
the
what they're doing with great execution and getting those first downs and then getting you again and tempoing you again. It's always, to me, like Georgia in the second half, once they realized the tempo and got settled in, got their calls, they played a lot better. So that first half of the game, the preparation now, getting people healthy, you better tempo the crud out of practice. And I'm not telling Nick anything he doesn't know. I'm just saying, like, that's the biggest deal is that pace is, it takes your breath away and it suffocates you.
I think one of the things at least Alabama has going for it, though, in this game is they've got an offense that's explosive enough, they feel like, to score, I think, with Oklahoma. And we'll have to see what the injury situation is at quarterback if Tua is good enough to go. I guess the good news for him, the high ankle sprain being on his right ankle, that's not his plant foot throwing. He's a lefty quarterback, obviously, so that might help in the recovery. But we've said all along, this might be the best team Nick Saban has had because of the weapons on offense. And obviously Tua plays a big part of that, but it's the guys around him too at wide receiver. And it's not just in years past a Julio Jones or an Amari Cooper or Calvin Ridley. They've now got Judy, Ruggs, Smith, Irv Smith at tight end. Waddle's a true freshman who can beat anybody in the slot. So I think that this could be one of those, we're talking about this type of game like we saw last year between Oklahoma and Georgia. I think regardless of who's playing quarterback for Alabama in this game, we're going to see a lot of points because Oklahoma's defense has struggled that much.
And for the first time last night, we saw Alabama look human. Offensively, they were dropping passes. Jerry Jeudy dropped a pass. Smith dropped a pass. Tua threw 2 interceptions, came into that game having thrown 2 on the season, throws 2 in this game. So we see this Alabama team all of a sudden look human. And you wonder, like you mentioned, is it the mental fatigue? Is it the getting up every single game? And now they get this break. And during this break, they have to change everything they thought on the defensive side because they have not seen an offense quite like this one. And then offensively, do you change what you do? Because now you have to score. You mentioned that they got 6 straight stops against Georgia to win that game.
The defense did, yep.
Can't see them get 6 straight against an Oklahoma team. And so you have to be on all cylinders on both sides. And we could see Alabama in one of these Big 12 type of scoring games where it might take 40, 50 points to win.
They had a couple of those against Ole Miss back in the day and against Clemson.
Clemson a couple years ago in the championship game. I mean, it was
not. But this Oklahoma offense different.
Agreed. But you remember that game against Clemson, and you made a great point that year at halftime of the game. You counted the number of snaps. Through 80 snaps, Alabama had held Clemson to 14 points. That's nothing. But between 81 to 99. He scored 21 points and won the game.
And we were showing pictures of the defensive linemen, hands on hips, they're tired.
Isn't it incredible, the consistency with Alabama now in the 5th playoff? But we always talk about the talent they have and the saying it's not about the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes. Consider there's not a coach on the field for Nick Saban that was part of the 2015 national championship team. And when you win 5 national titles in 9 years, you're going to lose Kirby Smart, you're going to lose Jeremy Pruitt, you're going to lose Lane Kiffin. We'll just bring Mike Loxley in on offense.
And you might lose him
now. And Coach Tosh comes in on defense, and here they are.
I've always said the one thing I do in this job that I would do for free, the one thing is the spring game that we get to go to and be on the field next to Coach Saban and listen to him coach. It is amazing the knowledge, the attention to detail. And you talk about changing coaches. I don't know of another person who could handle changing coaches like that, but because his attention to detail and his football knowledge, he's coaching every position when we're down there, and it's great to just listen to.
If Lee Fitting heard that, you don't have to pay him.
Go for free. I'm barely getting paid anyhow. I'm working for peanuts as it is.
I don't know why that matters. You've got your first check in the NFL. I'm sure it hasn't been cashed. Okay, it's Alabama and Oklahoma. Lincoln Riley, contrary to what you believe, Lincoln Riley did in fact get on that plane to go recruiting, and he's going to call us when that plane lands to talk about their playoff spot. But here is how he reacted. I guess this is Air Sooner 1. If it's not, I'm making it up.
What did we have some audio from that?
Sooner Nation, we just got some great news before we take off. Can't wait to play again. Boomer Sooner. See you soon. Boomer Sooner.
I thought he
Before
didn't
they
know.
took off.
Yeah, I
just knew that there's no way they were going to be in the air and not find out until they got to the other side whether they got in or not.
They're way too efficient for that.
Lincoln said that he had great news for Sooner Nation. Hey, Lincoln, they were watching us. They already knew. Hey, Chris Felica, the Bear, banging around over here. Bear, you got some opening lines for these college football playoff semifinal games?
Oh, we have two of the three biggest lines ever in the college football playoff.
Oh.
A 14-point favorite over Oklahoma in the Orange Bowl there, and Alabama, or rather Notre Dame, an 11-point underdog against Clemson in the Cotton Bowl. So I have a feeling that's going to be the classic battle of the pros versus the Joes and the sharps versus the public. I think Notre Dame as an 11-point underdog will be very attractive to the public, and we know how that usually winds up.
All right, let me ask you this. If you're putting those two games on Bears' board right now, I know you can change your mind before the morning of the 29th. Which way are you going on that, Bear?
I would lean towards Clemson. I think they're a clearly dominant team, and I'm not sure how much that game a couple years ago in Death Valley really affects what happens this year. The other game is interesting, though, because I think, well, the points you made on the set earlier, how we saw Oklahoma's offense do so well against an SEC defense in Georgia. However, if Marquise Brown can't play or if he's beat up, that's a big loss or a big question. So I'm gonna hold off on that one and wait for further injury news. But I'd be leaning towards Clemson minus the points.
All right, Bear, as I look at it here, I think it's 1:22 Eastern Time on Selection Day. And it is time to accept the committee's decision and then look forward to these games. They're great matchups. But I do want to know, do you agree with the decision that the committee made giving Oklahoma the 4th spot?
I mean, I with what Jesse and Kirk were saying as well, and David, I mean, I think Georgia is one of the best 4 teams, but I also understand that the conference title matters, the second loss matters. I don't necessarily agree that Georgia picking up a second loss against Alabama doesn't make them one of the 4 best teams. Yeah, they picked up a loss. But
Baron, we're just saying, who's the best 4?
The best 4, Georgia's probably the 3rd best team in the country.
Oh, okay.
And I think the committee didn't put the best 4 teams in. The committee put the 2 best teams in with Alabama and Clemson. They put a clearly deserving, really good, undefeated Notre Dame team in at number 3, and then they put a good but flawed 1-loss conference champion in over a good but flawed 2-loss non-champion, who's probably better.
Yeah,
it's weird though how they put. I didn't get what Rob Mullins rather was saying about you using conference championship to determine between Georgia and Oklahoma, but you have Georgia ahead of Ohio State, and Ohio State won a conference title.
Yeah,
I just didn't understand how you
they
put
should have been
Georgia
4
between
or 6.
either they're 4 exactly.
That logic.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to with that is it comes down to the vote, and then Rob is left to explain the vote.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you go in there.
Well, he's trying to make everybody else's opinion.
Right,
and it's impossible to do.
And you made a great point earlier when you said everybody's eyes, you have 6 new committee members, the subjectivity of those eyes is going to be different. So maybe to one, Oklahoma's unequivocally better, or maybe Georgia was unequivocally better to some who voted, and they voted in a different way, and it just wound up.
I think as we move on, too, I think because the college football playoff is so young still, you're going to see new things each and every year. Last year, we saw 2 teams from the same conference get in. I think Ohio State now is the first ever 1-loss conference champion that played 13 games not to get in. So
yeah, Big Ten champion is missed 3
so I
years
mean,
in a row.
and maybe one year, we'll see. Will they ever take the next step and put a 2-loss team in?
Let me tell you, the one thing that has been consistent, even as the committee has changed, you lose badly, you're not getting in.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if
Ohio
you lose
State,
by a field goal
last year.
Yeah, Ohio State, Iowa, Penn State a couple of years ago, 2-loss Big Ten.
And at times there's, depending on who has to step out. So when you talk about Ohio State, Oklahoma, there's 10 people in the room.
Not 13.
And so, so it's not 13, it's just 10 in the room at that time. So a lot of times when this is happening and we talk about the committee, it's not always the whole committee.
In this
it's
case,
not
Gene
like
Smith
13
and
people.
Joe Castiglione and Frank Beamer.
So at times
all
it's
were out because
10
Ohio
left.
State and Oklahoma.
When they talked about those teams individually, I asked Rob Mullins about this yesterday, and if they were being discussed, okay, these 2 things matching up, in that case, in most instances, all 3 of those would be out. But if you're just talking about, Oklahoma, then Gene Smith could be.
I thought we did them in like clusters. I didn't think we were allowed to talk
clusters
about
is not a word that's in the committee criteria, but it's used to describe how it
Do we get a bathroom break coming up?
Yeah, right now. Take off, run.
Not our own.
You got 2 hours, 35 minutes to go. 2 Eastern time. We'll give you the rest of the top 25. It'll be revealed. We don't have it yet. We're working on it. They'll get it to us. And then at 3 o'clock Eastern time, each committee's other charge is to get the New Year's 6 matchups, and we'll give those to you at 3 Eastern.
This is College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T. To College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
We're with you until 4 o'clock. Monday Night Football, Week 13, big one in the NFC East. Washington taking on Carson Wentz and the Eagles, chasing the boys after that big win over the Saints on Thursday night. 8:15 Eastern on ESPN. You can get it on the ESPN app. You can watch it anywhere. Monday Night Countdown starts 6 o'clock Eastern time. The Capital One fan vote, which team would give Alabama the toughest test? It's pretty easy to say Georgia, since Georgia had them on the ropes but couldn't finish in the SEC championship game yesterday. The team they will play in Miami in the Orange Bowl. Oklahoma getting 26% of the vote, and UCF. What do you think about that? They're going to the New Year's 6, by the way. We'll have that at 3 o'clock Eastern time, where the Knights will go bowling. Chick-fil-A impact players for the college football playoff, and you have a collection of quarterbacks for each of the 4 teams who have been dynamic. Tua Tagovailoa, for much of the season, was a front runner for the Heisman Trophy. We'll find out if Kyler Murray reeled him in and will win the trophy with his performance yesterday. And Tua's injured now as well. And of course, they will take on Oklahoma and then Clemson with Trevor Lawrence, the sensational freshman. When Dabo was recruiting him, he drew a comparison. He said he's not as thick yet, but reminds him of Cam Newton. Big, strong guy, big arm, long strider, fast. Ian Book is not like those guys. Ian Book out of Northern California didn't have a lot of offers, went to Notre Dame, bided his time, and when the Irish changed to him at quarterback, their offense was much different. And then Kyler Murray, big-time recruit, went to Texas A&M, transferred, had to wait an extra year when Baker Mayfield played an extra year, and now these guys are in the college football playoff, and Murray probably on his way to play baseball, but what a way to go out as a football player.
Yeah, unbelievable. And I think with these 4 teams in the playoff, Oklahoma easily relies on their quarterback, I think, more than the other 3 teams do on theirs. It's an historic offense, and we're watching Kyler Murray do something that we haven't yet seen in college football, averaging 300 passing yards and 60 rushing yards per game. I think he took the Heisman away from Tua this weekend, which is incredible to consider. I think the last time a team had the same Heisman winner at the same position, I think it was Army in 1945. Doc Blanchard. It's crazy. And so
I think
it's incredible to think that Oklahoma can lose the first pick of the draft, replace him with Kyler Murray, and the offense is actually better than a year ago. And considering the matchup they've got playing Bama, I think Kyler Murray's the quarterback with the most pressure on him in this playoff.
And what does that say? That Lincoln Riley is the best.
Yeah.
He's the best offensive play caller. I mean, listen, Kyler Murray is talented, and Baker Mayfield, obviously, both those guys are insane talents, but what they do offensively can't be stopped. It just doesn't matter. They have answers for everything you do. They all get on the same page. They know coverages really well. And listen, he's got one of the best offensive lines in college football in front of him. He's got one of the best receiving corps in college football. So he doesn't have a defense, but he has to score points, and he knows he's going to have to score 30 or 40 in every game, but he's got the best play caller and a lot of fun toys around him that make him pretty sensational.
Yeah, and Kyler Murray has taken an offense that was already great and made it even better. We didn't know it could get better, but it's been better. Ian Book has changed the entire identity of the Notre Dame offense and what they're able to do now. We watched them last season. They had to run the ball to beat you. That's the only way they were going to beat you. Now, what Ian Book has done at Notre Dame completely changed the way they can approach teams and the way teams have to approach them. He's eliminated the safety from the box. Dexter Williams is extremely happy to have Ian Book in front of him because now you can't bring that extra safety. Now you can't see the 8-man box just to stop the run. I like what he's done. He's made their team different and a huge reason why Notre Dame's in the playoff.
Yeah, I think Dexter Williams has a lot to do with that. They are much more balanced, and that threat of that running game, I think, opens up Ian Book in the play-action game. You know, I think, David, you're right. I think if you look at Oklahoma and Baker Mayfield, that was a historical offense. I mean, the things that he was doing, and we were marveling, went on to win a Heisman Trophy, and we thought, okay, here comes Kyler Murray, the transfer, how's he going to do? Great skill set. but I think the offense still is different. I think it's the same but different because of taking advantage of Kyler Murray. If you're looking at the NFL and you watch, we were talking this morning, the Rams and the Chiefs and all these offenses in the college that are starting to filter up into the NFL, the guy that's really at right in the middle of that, I think, is Lincoln Riley, and the guy that I hope stays in college and doesn't go coach for the Cowboys or someone in the NFL. Yeah. He's not just the best coach in college offensively. He could be the best coach in football right now when it comes to his offensive mind.
And one thing to pay attention to, they have been very, very smart with his runs. They're not running him that much. He does a great job of avoiding hits.
Oh, he does.
Now you've got a 2-game scenario for your season, really a 1-game scenario at a time. You can run that guy a lot more. That makes their offense even better.
Well, you're playing Alabama.
Good Lord.
I don't know. Now you're talking about running against Big 12, low to the ground, who aren't going to beat you up. You go with that attitude of running against Alabama. You can beat up. He goes 0 to 60 as quick as anybody in college football.
This just in from Scott Boras, his baseball agent. He is not in favor.
Get down.
Get down. Run less, throw more, get down.
He's going to need to run.
It's funny, too, because we hadn't seen Lincoln Riley really coach a running quarterback, right? You think back to like Baker Mayfield, even Shane Carden back at East Carolina. You were kind of curious to see how this offense would change. I agree. I don't think it's changed much. I just think Kyler Murray's better.
It a little bit.
He takes off.
All right, Lincoln Riley's going to join us when we come back. We'll talk to him about that, see if he's willing to run Kyler Murray even more.
He's going to run him.
He gets down quickly, doesn't he? Attend the 2000
College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
Nick Saban, Dabo Sweeney, Brian Kelly, Lincoln Riley. Welcome to the College Football Playoff.
Surprise, they will compete for. Alabama has been in every college football playoff. Clemson has been in 4 of the 5. Oklahoma has been in 3 of the 5. There have been 20 berths, and those 3 teams have accounted for 60% of them. Oklahoma's in for the 3rd time in 4 years. Kyler Murray, 9th overall pick by the Oakland A's after developing as a baseball player at Oklahoma in addition to being a football quarterback. Then he came on and he has been transcendent. The only loss of the season for the Sooners came at the hands of Texas, but averaged 53 points per game and were able to outscore their opponents despite allowing 38 points per game in the final 6, and then avenged their lone loss by taking care of Texas in the Big 12 championship game as Kyler Murray and the Sooners win the Big 12 and advance to the college football playoff. Pleased to be joined now by the head coach of the Sooners, Lincoln Riley. Lincoln, we saw the video from the plane when you were going out, when you got the news. How would you describe your level of nerves or level of confidence that you'd get that last spot in the playoff?
Yeah, it's an interesting feeling. You know, you've got the excitement of winning the game yesterday, winning the Big 12 championship, being able to enjoy that with our players, our coaches, and then certainly wanting to be in this playoff and feeling like we have a team that's worthy of it, a team that can go make a run, and a team that, you know, probably the most exciting thing for us is that we feel like our best ball is still ahead of us. And so, yeah, certainly excited to see how it all shook out, and glad we found out. Didn't have to wait for that hour-long flight and turn our phones back on when we landed.
Second straight year that you get into the playoff and you play the SEC champion. Obviously, a classic game against Georgia last year. What are your initial thoughts about facing Alabama?
Well, they're a great team. I mean, that's pretty obvious. They've been, they've had a great run and a historic run in college football over the last several years with Coach Saban, and I know this team is fantastic. We'll be looking forward to the challenge, though. I mean, that's what these games should be like. You know, different champions from all over across the country. You know, great programs that have such strong histories going against each other. Great individual matchups all across the field. I mean, that's what the whole college football playoff is all about. That's why our sport is the best sport on earth.
Capital One Orange Bowl's on December 29th, Alabama and Oklahoma. Lincoln, we've talked a little bit about this, that the football's changed a bit, and there are some that might look at the numbers that your defense has allowed at times this year and wonder about it, but the game's changed. I even had a friend compare it to the way the Golden State Warriors win in basketball, that if you can score that much, that your defense doesn't have to be old school. What do you think about where we are, state of the sport, and how it impacts the ability to win a championship?
Yeah, no, it's definitely changed some. I think in that there's the offensive numbers are so historic right now. You know, not just from some of the top offenses, but I mean everybody's better than they were 15 or 20 years ago. The numbers are better. The game has changed, and so the way you define it maybe is a little bit different. But at the end of the day, it's still a combination of your team offensively, defensively, and special teams. You know, how do you win games? How do you score more points than the other team? And so that formula hasn't changed, but the numbers are a little bit different. And so, you know, we found a way to do it here. We feel like we're still getting better. I thought we had one of our best defensive performances of the year yesterday. We needed it at the most critical time, and they made those plays. So we got to continue to find ways to win, and our guys have done that, and proud of what we've accomplished so far.
It's one thing that shouldn't be undervalued. A couple of defensive touchdowns against West Virginia, the big safety interception late yesterday, so your defense has been able to make plays. The offensive playmakers have been dynamic. What can you tell us right now about the status of Marquise Brown, who was injured yesterday?
Yeah, we got back to Norman last night. A couple tests last night. Got a few more here today that we're going to try to just really figure out, you know, the overall extent of it, and then our medical team will put together a plan based on what they find. So, you know, we're hopeful, but I'm sure we'll learn more here in the next few days, and certainly love to have him. But I think as we proved yesterday that we've got other guys that are more than capable of stepping up if he's not ready.
Lincoln, congratulations on making the playoffs, second straight year. That's a pretty good start for you as a head coach. We look forward to seeing you in Miami.
Sounds great, Reese. Thanks for having me on.
All right, Lincoln Riley, head coach of the Sooners. More with the playoff reaction and Oklahoma making it in against Alabama. Greg McElroy, Paul Feinbaum, and Jonathan Vilma. Guys?
Gentlemen, it was pretty clear that the committee loved Oklahoma based on where they had them last week. And there was no way that Ohio State was likely to make up that ground. But did they get it right, Phil?
They did get it right. Watching Oklahoma yesterday, that was the first time I saw their defense step up to the plate, actually perform, because we knew how good the offense was for Oklahoma. We know how good Kyler Murray is, but we needed to see something about their defense. Just show us something that says that they're a playoff caliber defense, and they did yesterday. Gave up 48 points to Texas in their first outing, only 27 yesterday, and Kyler Murray, of course, being outstanding as he is, I said that is the number 4 team in the country right now.
There's an old cliche. I'm not wrong. I don't know. I would have preferred to see Georgia, and I think so. Vegas is already out. And you don't play football by Vegas, even because yesterday Alabama was supposed to beat Georgia pretty badly, Greg. But Vegas said that Georgia would be a favorite over Oklahoma. Oklahoma is a prohibitive underdog against Alabama, and I think it's a snapshot, Jonathan. And I wonder. I'm really interested from both of you in terms of what shot and what does Kyler Murray and Oklahoma have to do to beat Alabama? Because we saw a little bit of it yesterday, but are they built to beat Alabama? Because we've had conversations on Sunday morning that they can score, but can they stop?
We'll start with can they score. One aspect of Oklahoma that is very underrated is the offensive line. They are extremely good, and they can block very well. Their run game is just as good as their passing game. You saw they had running backs get injured during the season, step in new running backs and Sermon, and they're still rushing for 1,000 yards. So they can block that Alabama defense. All Kyler Murray needs is a couple seconds. That's what we've seen the whole season. That's what made him so electric. He sits back in the pocket, and if it's right there the first read, boom, it's out. If it's not there, then he's going to scramble a little bit, buy a little time, and then he can get it. So I see very similar to what Jake Fromm did yesterday because he torched that Alabama secondary. Kyler Murray can do the same.
Yeah, I'm not as worried about Oklahoma's defense because that offense, if we've learned anything this year, is that they're going to manufacture yards and points and production against everybody outside of Army, who had the ball for 46 minutes in the game. I mean, so
that's an anomaly.
No, that's an anomaly. That's in the rearview mirror. They're going to get their yards. And Alabama this year, for as good as they've been defensively against teams like LSU and Mississippi State, this will be by far the most challenging test for the Crimson Tide's defense, who was replacing a lot of key pieces in the secondary and maybe are still trying to figure out some of those strengths. Marquise Brown being available or not is huge, but still they have CeeDee Lamb, Calcaterra, and you have the most dynamic quarterback in college football perhaps in Kyler Murray. So best of luck, is that what you'd say? To stop an
Best of luck, I guess.
It's going to be a heck of a matchup there in Miami. Looking forward to seeing just how it goes. These quarterbacks are playoff bound. 2 Heisman Trophy contenders, a freshman, and an underrated game manager.
You're watching College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T. When you're good at College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
All right, tune into Championship Drive, Rankings Reaction, and Championship Drive Who's In, presented by Capital One. You can visit ESPN.com/Bowlmania to sign up for Capital One Bowl Mania and make your picks. 4 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2 and then 8:30 Eastern on ESPN. We have some news that is breaking as we continue on this selection day coming from Manhattan, Kansas. The Manhattan Mercury is reporting that Kansas State coach Bill Snyder will step down. It was 30 years ago Friday that Bill Snyder took the head coaching job at Kansas State, one that was deemed to be impossible. They were on a 27-game winless streak. Snyder came in and did the greatest rebuilding job in the history of college football, transformed Kansas State into a national power. 20 years ago, was on the cusp of playing for a national championship. But the news coming from Manhattan, according to the Manhattan Mercury, that Bill Snyder, at age 79, will step down later this afternoon. A team meeting has been called for 3 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 2 o'clock in Manhattan. Now, you have to understand what he means to that program. Bill Snyder is Bill Snyder Family Stadium, where the Wildcats play, which is on Bill Snyder Highway, which is next to the Bill Snyder statue, which is there. He has built that program. There's been a little bit of a tug of war about how long he'd stay. What's your reaction to, I mean, look, you've been around, your tenure on College Game Day coincided largely with the emergence of Bill Snyder in Kansas State.
We all knew that this day would eventually come, and it's a sad day because Bill Snyder is Kansas State football. And no matter who becomes that next head coach, they'll have to deal with that weight because he's an icon, and he will forever be a legend and forever be remembered and respected in the college football community for what he was able to build in Manhattan, Kansas. And I don't know. I have no idea. I know he's talked about his son and wanting that to be a possibility. I don't know how practical that is, but I do know that, think back at Michael Bishop and so many of those great teams. And yeah, so many great teams. And even the great teams that they had that didn't necessarily have great talent. They were so well coached and just always showed up. You knew what you were going to get.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things he got the most out of his players, right? And I think that's one thing that you find out when you talk to anyone who's ever played for Bill Snyder is that not only did he make them better football players, but I think he made them better men off the field. 27 years as head coach at Kansas State, 79 years old. It's unbelievable. Just the model of consistency through and through. And I agree with what Kirk said. It is a sad day in college football.
And 2 stints is correct because he leaves and Kansas State goes back to being Kansas State and really struggle. He comes back and resurrects it again. Just maximizing players is something he did. Toughness, discipline. You look at this team every year, one of the least penalized teams. Special teams, X factor in every
all the
single
little
game.
Things.
Always good. Like the details, he covered all the little details. He's a Hall of Famer. He's one of the best coaches of all time. If he would have taken a job outside of Kansas State that he could have taken numbers of times, a big-time program with big-time players, he would have won multiple national championships. He's one of the greatest coaches of all time.
Yep. And you know these times are coming, you know what I mean? But it doesn't make it any easier to accept. It always catches off guard, even though all the years he's been there and his age. When they just told us that he's retiring, it hits you. And even though you knew it had to happen eventually, you hate to see these kind of guys leave the sport of college football because they're good for the kids, they're good for the sport. And in this world now that we fire coaches in a couple years, we fire coaches in midseason, that kind of stability is special. And you love to see a school and a coach stick with it as long as they did. And so you hope that a lot more schools go this direction. Get you a head coach, and you find these coaches that are special, and you keep them and let them mold your program.
Yeah, through the ups and the downs. Jim Leavitt might be a name that'll come up. Colin Klein, who played for him, who was a great player, has worked on his staff. I'm sure eventually his name could pop up. I don't know about right now, but eventually he would be a name that I would throw out there too.
You know, Coach Snyder's single-mindedness was legendary. He started working through lunch, didn't eat lunch, and then decided, boy, I get a lot done at lunch. Then he just worked through dinner
and would eat once a day when he went home for a few hours, like 10 o'clock at night. He admittedly wasn't always the most balanced guy in terms of family. I was introducing the Hall of Fame class when it was announced that Bill Snyder was going in, and he had a slip of the tongue moment. He certainly knows how many kids he has, but he said referred to his 4 children as I recall, and his wife told me afterwards that he's got 5 kids. She didn't let him hear the end of that.
There are legendary stories.
It was just a mistake. Slip of the tongue.
Legendary stories about him coaching in a game, and whether they won or lost, go take the game film, game's over. Everyone's taking a shower, they leave, celebrating. He's in his office, light on, film on, breaking the film down right after the game. Like he was relentless.
And family's so important to him, too. We've been in his office before, and a lot of family photos. There's some wooden Pinocchios in there.
Pinocchio. He loves the story of Pinocchio because he said, Geppetto had a great feeling for the young people, and he had a great influence on many of the young people who played for him at Kansas State. We've got the entire top 25 coming up 2 o'clock Eastern time. That is just a few moments away, and we come back after this break. New Year's 6 matchup at 3 o'clock Eastern time. And Jalen Hurts, one of the big heroes of Championship Saturday, will join us at about 2:10 Eastern time.
The question has been answered. The field has been set. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma. The wait is almost over. Launches to the end zone. Caught. Touchdown. Welcome to the big time. Breaks a couple of tackles, and they will not touch him. The College Football Playoff, December 29th on ESPN.
Capital One Orange Bowl, Goodyear Cotton Bowl. That's how the semifinals will be December 29th. It's on a Saturday. And set up there, and of course the championship game in Santa Clara on Monday, would it be January 7th? Is that right? I believe it's Monday, January 7th in Santa Clara for the national championship.
You looked over here and got no help.
All right, 2 o'clock Eastern time. Got the full top 25 for you. Showed you the top 6 earlier. Alabama takes on Oklahoma. Clemson and Notre Dame. Georgia slipped in between the 2 conference champions, and for the 3rd consecutive year, the Big Ten champion will not be in the playoff, though Ohio State did make it as a non-champion in 2016. And a little statistical nugget will stay alive. The Big Ten has not scored a point in the college football playoff since Ezekiel Elliott dotted the I and finished off the national championship for the Buckeyes in 2014, the first year of the playoffs. So that's the top 6. Let's see how we go at number 7. Michigan hangs in at number 7. UCF, highest ranked team out of the group of 5 in the history of the college football playoff rankings, finished at 12-0.
What a big win yesterday. I mean, that was incredible. They're down once again to Memphis without their leader this time, but at home they come back.
How good did Darryl Mack, the freshman quarterback, look? 5 touchdowns in the second half of that game to keep their New Year's 6 bowl hopes alive.
And they will be the New Year's 6 representative. We'll find out at 3 o'clock Eastern time where UCF will play in the postseason. Washington is the champions of the Pac-12. They make it in at number 9. LSU with the 3 losses. Tough ones indeed, but they finish at number 11. They are likely to be in a New Year's 6 bowl again. All of that coming at 3 o'clock Eastern time.
Texas only dropping 1 spot. That's giving them a lot of respect to this Oklahoma team who's now number 4. The committee saying, hey, you played them close to the end of the game. You only dropped 1 spot.
I wouldn't agree with Kentucky being ranked ahead of Texas, but that's just me. I mean, I don't know if it matters that much. Both are candidates, I guess, for the New Year's 6.
LSU obviously gets to move up. Florida's behind.
No, Mike Leach.
Florida's ahead of Kentucky, and
Kentucky beat the number 10
Florida.
team right now in Florida,
So there's a lot of ifs, ands, and shuffles, and upset people.
It's all about creating.
You said this before, Reese. When you get to this point, where are you going to put and stack the 3 and 4 lost teams?
That's true. Yeah, they're all. It gets all similar. You get this perception that there's this wide gap between 12 and 15. There's not. Yeah, I mean, you have to put them in some order. Right?
Yeah.
Let's look at 16.
Glad I don't vote in the AP.
I do. It's difficult. Once you get past a certain number, it's like.
I mean, how do you separate?
Yeah. Mississippi State in at 18. Got a couple SEC teams in there. Big 12 team at 16 that played a tough game against Oklahoma and Syracuse from the ACC at number 20. Dino Babers, who played against Notre Dame, played against Clemson, had a great year.
How about
He'll
Utah?
join us in a little bit.
How about Utah at 17 after losing a starting quarterback and losing your starting running back, but winning the Pac-12 South for the first time? At least just getting to that game?
The antithesis of Oklahoma would be Utah.
How about
great physical defense.
Yeah, can't get a first down.
Yeah.
But they can play great D.
Yeah.
That Pac-12 championship game,
That was
one
a doozy.
touchdown by the defense.
Yes,
off a tip
zero
pass.
offensive touchdown.
10-3 it is.
Whittingham was so upset, just spewing a stream of invective for the
Because
official.
you never know, they might have been able to complete a pass. They got
was
that
PI.
pass.
Didn't like the non-call pass
It
interference.
was PI, but they wouldn't have thrown it.
Fresno State won on the blue and over. That was a great win. They avenged the regular season loss on the
Coach
blue against
Tedford.
Boise State.
How about Iowa State? Little Drizzy Drake from the Pioneer Football League
Beat him
yesterday. Almost gives them an L.
Yep.
What a great year for Matt Campbell. 8 wins on the season, pretty good.
They dropped one spot because of that L they almost took.
We didn't do Super Dogs on game day yesterday, but I was telling them I wanted to take the Drake in 51. I would have only got me a point, though, not nearly
Great.
close enough to take the title.
They won outright. You would have gotten the trophy.
Yeah, you just have to hand it over then. You do. 51-point dog gets it done.
Right.
Okay, so there's the rest of the rankings right now. It's pretty significant right there for, I know that we get obsessed, and understandably so, with teams finishing at the top and making the playoff, but there are programs who are trying to grow and build that finishing ranked is a big deal for them.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, and again, it's bowl season. Like, you get extra practices. People are really excited. But once you see your name on that list, you start – it helps recruiting, okay? We're building something we want you to come be a part of. We're building some tradition. Look at us. We finished hot. Iowa State's a great example of that. This season they had this year. I mean, with those guys, Montgomery, you see Purdy come over, take over, different team. Like, we just need a couple of you guys to come on board. So it does matter to a lot of programs.
And UCF, without Mackenzie Melton and moving forward, Daryl Mack, it'll be his show. And so for them to come back in that game and win it the way they did, UCF is a team that we'll be looking at again next season to make this kind of run. And how long can they keep it going? Greg McCray, the running back the last couple of weeks, has been huge for this team. Smaller guy, he's just a freshman. And so this team at UCF offensively will continue to be really good. They get better on the defensive side, and this could be interesting moving forward if they continue to win.
Incredible for them to win those last two without their leader. This is one of my hot buttons because I feel like we as a company, college football fans, social media, we put such an emphasis on the four, and deservedly so, that I think sometimes we lose sight of teams that win 8 games and have a great year. Teams that win 9 and didn't quite win a conference championship, but they overcame some injuries, or they had a great player from the year before that they had to replace, and they get to 9 wins, and they fall down to 15 or 17. It's like, man, those are great years. But I just feel like people don't celebrate those years, and sometimes they kind of look at the bowl games that aren't the playoff bowl games and just disregard them, and I have a real issue with that.
And it's a fun time of the year, too. You know, obviously we have got great games ahead of us here in the playoff and these bowl games, too, but it's kind of when you can start looking ahead to next year and saying, hey, which teams should we be looking out for next year? Which teams finished ranked the season before? Because of that ranking, as we just talked about, we'll have good recruiting classes. And I think for a lot of the players in this locker room, these next 15 practices are huge, especially for freshmen. You know, a lot of those guys that are red shirts, they get more reps and more action. They start eyeing up other dudes on the team like, you know what, dude, I'm taking your job next year. Yeah, I'm taking your job. I'm going to have a place on this team next year and be an impact player. This is where freshmen stop being freshmen, and you really can kind of start to forecast into next season. Which of these teams should we be looking out for that can make some noise?
And you can play those guys, too. I mean, if you kept them under 4 games, you can play them now, which is a good thing, right?
I think it's a great thing. And it's so interesting now that coaches are going to have to decide how they want to sort of own that and manage that new redshirt rule. Do you save these freshmen for your 4 biggest games of the year, or do you hold on to that redshirt so late in the bowl game you can give them some run?
Some guys did it differently. Some guys went early, and some guys held back for an opportunity to play in those last couple games. One last thing on these teams, like Georgia, they didn't get into the 4, but they're going to go to a great bowl game and have a great celebration. Ohio State, they didn't get into the 4. They're going to the Pasadena. They hadn't been there since 2009 when they played Oregon. Washington State.
How about Kentucky?
Last time Washington State had a year like this, UK.
It gets interesting. You talk about us as a company and what we think of it. What do the teams think of it? And so you talk about Ohio State who doesn't get it and goes to the Rose Bowl. We look at that, man, that is a great game. How motivated would Ohio State be? How motivated would Georgia be to go to whatever bowl game they go to now that they didn't get in? And so it becomes interesting the way we look at it, more interesting the way that teams look at it. Now you have guys who are getting ready for an NFL draft. Do they play in these games now if it's not in the playoff. That also makes it interesting moving forward. I absolutely would play, and we had this argument a couple years ago. Anytime I get a chance to go out and play, put that uniform on, for me it was Ohio State, I'm putting it on and I'm going out and I'm getting after it, regardless of what the NFL holds for me.
This is a guy that played how many years? How many years did you play?
16. 16.
Look,
Felt like 20.
I love that attitude.
Felt like 20.
I love that attitude, but I don't begrudge guys who choose not to. I think
we had that argument.
Reese would have taken the money too.
He would have held back.
He's gone.
Reese was considered holding back.
Let me ask you: have you ever seen me hold back on anything?
All the time?
No.
We've never seen you get hit either.
That's what you think. I've been hit so many times, figuratively and literally. UCF finishes ranked number 8. Allison Williams is in Orlando, and I know UCF had hoped maybe to break through. But they won 25 in a row. Allison are going to go back to a New Year's Six bowl game and can continue to make their point against the quote-unquote big boys.
Yeah, and Reese, you know what? That's going to be their mindset. It's not like they're exactly surprised to not be included in the top 4 or even the top 6. But I talked to Gabriel Davis, wide receiver, as he made his way in here, and he said, we're just going to keep chipping away. We see it as another opportunity to get a big-time quality win, and then we'll come out here next year and do it all over again. I'd love to see them keep us out of the playoff for 3 years in a row if we go undefeated. And it says a lot, I think, when you look at the schedule for the day about what their expectations were at 12:30 when the playoff teams were announced and the top 6 unveiled. Players were still on their own at home. They didn't come in here to the facility till about 1 o'clock. Treatment began. There's a team meal now at 2 o'clock. And at 3, they will come inside this team meeting room for a meeting and to see which bowl game they are headed to, where they know they'll have another opportunity to prove to the country the type of team they are. And you guys were just talking about motivation for these teams in bowl games. There'll be no shortage of that for UCF. They continuously play with a chip on their shoulder and know that every game is an opportunity to prove to the country the type of team they are and the type of team they believe they can be if given the opportunity.
All right, Allison, thank you. A little piece of advice. It's a real thing, whether people will be motivated or not motivated to play at UCF.
Yeah, you better be motivated to play that.
But that's how they should handle it. Instead of fighting and going, well, you shouldn't say it. Say, you know what? You're not ready to play us. That's what you're going to get.
I think after last year, whoever plays them is going to be ready.
We'll see. Extra Yard for Teachers is the College Football Playoff Foundation's primary initiative. Its mission, elevate the teaching profession by inspiring and empowering teachers this season. Teams, players, coaches saluted teachers in their communities by hosting and honoring them in stadium ceremonies. Will continue through the New Year's Day games. More information, cfp-foundation.org. Thank you to all the teachers and a guy who certainly taught a lot of people some lessons with his perseverance, his humility, and then the ability to put on that big smile and lead his team to a win when his number was called. Jalen Hurts will join us from Tuscaloosa when you come back.
Is College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
Take a look at our blimp-worthy player presented by Goodyear. Jalen Hurts stepped in coming off the bench yesterday and led Alabama to an SEC championship come-from-behind victory against Georgia, threw a touchdown pass, an absolute dime to Jerry Jeudy, and then ran in what proved to be the game-winning touchdown. Hit 7 of his 9 passes, accounted for a couple of touchdowns, and pull off that Superman look at the end as Jalen Hurts joins us now from Tuscaloosa. Jalen, when Tua got hurt and you had your opportunity to go in, what was the first thing you thought?
That's a moment that I've been waiting for. I'm not happy that it happened the way it did, but it was an opportunity for me to go out there and play for my teammates and go win the game for those guys. Man, we worked so hard this offseason. You wouldn't understand, man. I'm so happy for this team.
But one thing, Jalen, your work has been apparent. I mean, you made some tremendous throws. Which throw, if you had to pick one, exemplifies your improvement best? The one throw you made yesterday that you think most exemplifies your improvement in the pocket?
I think the consistency thing, being more consistent, being able to be efficient in the passing game has allowed me to kind of change my game and evolve as a player. I think that's a credit to my players around me, my teammates around me, and the great coaches I have.
Jalen, we live in this era where players oftentimes, especially a quarterback, when things don't go their way, they tend to want to go to greener pastures. You've decided to stick it out. Can you talk about that journey and why you felt that it was important to stay at Bama and eventually get this kind of opportunity to kind of save your season for you and your teammates?
Well, I can tell you it's been a long time coming. It's been a long year. You know, I can look back after the national championship game. You know, I'm in the hotel room with my parents, my brother and my sister, and, you know, I'm in my parents, my mom and dad's arms crying. And I look up at my dad, I say, you know, what are we gonna do now? And he, you know, he told me, he looked me in my eyes, he told me, he said, we're gonna fight. And, you know, I've been fighting for a year, not knowing what the result would be, competing, keeping faith, and, you know, God was with me yesterday.
Jalen, what motivated you? What pushed you through those moments after the national championship? You come into August, there's a question, who's going to win the job? They go with Tua. What motivated you and pushed you through to get that opportunity yesterday in Atlanta?
Just me being a competitor that I am. I was raised to compete, you know, all throughout high school. You can ask my high school teammates. You know, my dad always, my coach in high school as well, always harped on competing and, you know, fighting to the finish. And I think my parents have done a great job. You know, I'm so thankful for them. I'm thankful for my brother and my little sister, and I'm just blessed to be where I am.
Jalen, the emotional scene after that national championship game last year, how would you describe the scene with your family following yesterday's game?
Unbelievable. It's a great feeling, you know, with all the things that, you know, me and my family have been through this whole year, honestly, you know, with the stuff in the media and, you know, the injuries that I've had. You know, I just had surgery not too long ago and kind of trying to bounce back from that and being where I am today. I mean, it's surreal.
I saw at the end of the game the Hail Mary attempt from Georgia falls incomplete. The camera cuts to Coach Saban, and you're there with him, and you reached in and grabbed him and tried to say something to him. What did you say?
I told Coach Saban, I said, everything happens for a reason. And that's been a thing that I tell him all the time. Every time we meet up and just chatter and talk, I tell him everything happens for a reason, and, you know I'm bought into the process.
How then, as you prepare for the Capital One Orange Bowl, now Tua's health is in question, how will what happened yesterday impact your outlook, your mindset, your feeling about where you are as you go into these preparations for the playoff?
I think as a backup quarterback this whole year, my whole thing has been to prepare as if I'm a starter. You know, be ready for when my moment comes, and when that phone rings, I got to answer. So if the opportunity presents itself again, I have to do what I have to do to get ready for this team.
Jalen, you have exemplified class and perseverance, and I don't think there's anybody, and there were even Auburn fans out there that were happy to see your success yesterday. So congratulations on the win and going to the playoff, and we wish you all the best, man. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. Y'all have a good one.
All right.
That says something if there's Auburn fans that are happy for
Yeah,
that says a lot.
That was a tough thing to do.
This could be a movie. I mean,
a Disney movie.
It really could, because he wasn't just a starting quarterback. He
26 and 2?
26 and 2, led him to 2 national championship games, was the alpha. Like, unquestionably, guys look to him for the answers. Goes out in the second half, Tua becomes Tua, rest is history, and instead of leaving the way everyone else seems to be doing now, he sticks it out, gets his opportunity when his team desperately needs him, and he gets them through with 2 touchdowns to save their season and save a national championship.
And Reese, much like you said,
that's as good as it gets.
Much like you said, you don't begrudge guys who don't play in bowl games. I don't begrudge guys that transfer and go to other schools.
Sure.
If you're not happy there, then go about your business. So in this case, though, I can appreciate and applaud what Jalen Hurts did. If he decided to leave, I wouldn't hold it against him. But what he decided to do as a man, as a student, as a player, I think it's something that young people can look up to and say, here's a guy that stuck it out, stayed where he was, and it worked out for him. And it's a great moment in a game. Now, hopefully this goes on. I hope, and I'm sure Jalen Hurts and Alabama hopes that Tua is healthy, but what a luxury for Alabama to be able to go to Jalen Hurts on their sideline because he stuck it out.
And so y'all encapsulated all that perfectly. How about the kid got better? Because what I saw from him the other night, he put in the time to get better. It's one thing to poor, pitiful me, like Tua's really good, I'm in a bad situation. I can't wait to get out of here. Good teammate, good in the locker room. Work on your craft and get better. Give yourself an opportunity to be successful. You look at what happened to him in this game. Throwing the football was an area that he struggled with, throwing the ball down. Dude, he made some clutch
How about when
throws.
he came in the game?
How about just losing the quarterback battle with class, though? He never became a distraction in the media. A former SEC Offensive Player of the Year, that would have been very easy for him to go, put the camera on me, let me tell you how I feel right now, and then potentially cause a major distraction in that locker room. Listen, I've been in quarterback battles in college. I've lost them, and I've been benched. It's not easy to kind of keep that bottled up inside. He did it all year, and on the podium was really interesting last night after the game. He said, this was me breaking my silence. Getting the opportunity, preparing for this opportunity, playing the way he did, I think it spoke louder than anything he could have verbally have said.
You know, there are a couple of things on this. It may very well be that Jalen Hurts ends up playing his last year somewhere else. I think that's probably the likelihood. But because of the improvement and because of the plays he made and throws it he would not or could not have made maybe last year, maybe his dad's going to be right. Maybe he will be the most sought-after free agent in recent college football history. And there's this note that we just heard Nick Saban allude to earlier. Tua Tagovailoa will need that procedure on his ankle. It's a high ankle sprain. It's a procedure that Dr. James Andrews, a noted orthopedic surgeon, has worked on, and Lyle Kane at Alabama as well, that helps the healing. Say about 2 weeks. Tua should be ready in a couple of weeks. Obviously, see how it goes. I believe, if memory serves, that's the same procedure that Jalen had. And Jalen says, I asked Jalen before we started, I said, how's the ankle? He said, good enough. You know, getting better, but good enough.
We'll keep an eye on that because Tua, every time he got hit, he was limping. Every time. You still have the knee. Now you have an ankle. I mean, it's,
and both ankles to some degree. He's had a couple of things. So we'll see how it goes. Tua is supposed to be.
Is College Football Playoff Selection Show. Presented by AT&T.
One of the reasons Kelly Bryant won this job a year ago is because he's a competitor. And now he knows he's got to be as competitive as he's ever been because the young buck, Trevor Lawrence, is as advertised.
Bryant takes a snap, going to run it right up the middle. A 35-yard touchdown run by Kelly Bryant.
Lawrence, another deep strike. Touchdown, Tigers. And this one's going to save the Tigers in Aggie land.
Kelly Bryant demoted as Clemson starting quarterback. He is transferring.
Sometimes you have to make tough decisions that are in the best interest of the team.
You know, it was the decision I had to make for myself.
And Clemson dodges a huge bullet against Syracuse.
Clemson is getting better and better every week.
All the hard work pays off. That's why I work hard. No days off.
Clemson 7-0.
Victory goes to the Tigers. We got a chance to go play for another ACC championship.
This Clemson team is for real. Defense is as good as you'll find in the country. They're only going to get better and better.
Pitch to Wilkins with momentum into the end zone for the touchdown.
Clemson remain unbeaten heading into championship weekend.
We're going to do everything we can to achieve our next goal, and that's to win this league.
Travis Etienne looking for room on the right side and finding it. They won't catch him, and the Tigers score on the opening play. And the Tigers trying to add to the lead. Lawrence for the end zone, just like that. They make the Panthers pay.
4 straight ACC championships, 4 straight playoff appearances. Congratulations to the Clemson Tigers, and they're off to the playoff.
Have a look at today's PlayStation Player Index. Travis Etienne, 21 rushing touchdowns. That's the second most in ACC history. You guys, you and Fowler last night, Herbie, during the broadcast of the game, were talking about how much of a different type of running back he is now as opposed to his freshman year when it was mostly about the flash and the explosion.
Yeah, last year more about acceleration and just a raw product, and a year in the weight room and just growing, maturing. I think he's now a complete back and running through arm tackles and more patient. He's a danger. Arguably one of the best backs, if not the top back in the country.
Good year. Cotton Bowl, Notre Dame When do they get a load of Travis Etienne? We had a great matchup December 29th in one of the college football playoff semifinals. The guy who played both Clemson and Notre Dame this year. Syracuse's Dino Babers. They had a great season, finished ranked, win 9 games. The head coach of the Orange will join us in just a little bit. Go ahead and smile, Dino. You're on camera. Give me a little grin. There we go. All right.
Christian Wilkins, Dabo Sweeney, Clemson. Welcome back to the College Football Playoff.
Selection Show, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Taco Bell's Live Más Student Section, giving the biggest games back to the biggest fans, the students, since 2014.
Fans gearing up to take their seats within the Live Más Student Section. Taco Bell, the college football playoff, providing free tickets to 500 students of each school in the college football playoff games this year. It's a continuing program. It's been a good one, especially for the guys who body paint and apparently enjoy a nice run to Taco Bell. At least from the looks of things, it would say.
It's a bad combo, usually.
That's a delicious combo.
Well, the shirt off and running through Taco Bell.
Oh, shirt off, yeah. The shirt off for that guy's a bad look.
Yeah.
Anyway, you can tell.
No matter what restaurant you go to,
sloppy body guy.
A lot of conviction.
Yeah, we're 2.5 hours into this now, getting a little punchy. You look at the rankings right here. Syracuse finishing with 9 wins at number 20. They play both Clemson and Notre Dame will square off in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. Pleased to be joined by the head coach of the Orange now, Dino Babers. Dino, you beat Clemson last year. You played them to the very end this year. What would be the best thing you'd say Notre Dame needs to do if they're going to have a shot at knocking off the Tigers?
Well, I tell you what, first of all, it's a tall task. Clemson is really a fantastic football team, not only on the offensive side, obviously, with their tailback and their offensive line, but their defense is so experienced, especially with the front seven. But they do have the right thing. One of the right combinations to get after them a little bit is to have a quarterback that's mobile. And Ian's a lot more mobile than what you think he is. Once you get in the game, he can really make defensive linemen miss, and he can buy time in the pocket. So that's a combination for success for Notre Dame.
Now, very little, I know, really surprises or fools coaches. You guys watch so much tape. You're so deep into the preparation. Was there anything about seeing Notre Dame that maybe they're a little better in person than what you might see on film?
You know, I think they have a fantastic football team, and I think they're definitely well prepared. Coach Kelly does a fantastic job, and I think that defense really comes to play. They move around as one. But I think the biggest thing that they have is I think the quarterback is better than what people think. When you look at the height and the weight and the size and the lineage, you just kind of think that he's just okay. And then when you get there in person, he plays a lot better than that.
You're an offensive guy. What's the best thing to do to try to attack Clemson's defensive front?
Well, again, I think the best thing you can do is you're going to have to throw the football. You're going to have to be balanced. You're going to have to run the football. But their pass rush is so outstanding that if you have a quarterback that's able to buy time and give the wide receivers a little bit more time to work the secondary, I think you have an opportunity to make some big plays against them.
Hey, Dino, your team finished in the top 20 of the college football playoff rankings this year. A phenomenal season with 9 wins. Being able to finish the way you did and to play Clemson and Notre Dame and then to be able to still finish with a successful season, what does that indicate about the trajectory and growth of your program?
Well, you know, when you think about us having was picked to take last in the conference and we end up second in the ACC Atlantic, one of the toughest conferences in college football, and you figure two out of our 3 losses are to 2 teams that are ranked in the top 3 in the country, and the other one was a conference champion. I think it speaks a lot about where this program's going. I think that we're on the rise. I think that we may be arriving a little bit ahead of schedule, and it's going to be really important in the 2019 season that we put together a season that complements what we did here in 2018.
Hey, your locker room speeches have become legendary, and we've already talked a little bit this afternoon about teams and motivation for bowl games. If you got the least little whiff that maybe your team wasn't into it, wherever you went for the bowl, and I know that's not likely, Give me a little taste of what you'd say to him.
No, Reese. You are not getting that for free. That's what agents are for. There's no way you're getting that for free.
Hey,
I'll tell you what I'll give you.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'll give you.
What will you give me?
I've been in it for a while. And unless you're at Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, these traditional football teams, you're at a school and you have an opportunity to win double-digit games. That's a big deal. I've been in it for 34 years. And double-digit win seasons for me comes once every 7 years, which means you could have 2 graduating classes and have 1 opportunity to win 10 or more games in a college football season. It kind of makes the season magical when you go from 9 wins to double digits. So that's our story, and we're sticking to it. We think this is a fantastic football team. The 2018 class will never be forgotten around here, around Syracuse University. But if we have the opportunity to take this team from a 9-win season to a double-digit season, I think that could make the season extremely special.
Dino, congratulations on everything you've accomplished so far. Wish you all the luck in the world in getting that double-digit victory season. Thanks a lot for spending time with us.
Thanks, Reese. You guys have a wonderful afternoon.
All right, Dino Babers joining us from Syracuse. Syracuse with an opportunity once we find out where they're going in the bowl to win their 10th game. Monday Night Football, Redskins and Eagles, 8:15 Eastern Time. All starts with Monday Night Countdown. All of a sudden, Dallas has stepped up in that division. They'll have to make some moves there. Jimmy V Classic, this is Jimmy V Week, presented by Corona. We'll start with Oklahoma and Notre Dame. It's from Madison Square Garden on Tuesday night. We'll be there with my basketball family, Florida and West Virginia at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. It's on ESPN, streaming live on the ESPN app. You'll obviously, as always, hear the great Jimmy V speech from the 1993 ESPYs. The bracket looks like this. Capital One, Orange Bowl, Alabama and Oklahoma, 1 versus 4, and then Clemson and Notre Dame. Goodyear Cotton Bowl, that's on December 29th. Saturday football for high stakes in year 5 of the college football playoff.
Saturday is brought to you by Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem.
Tua Tagovailoa, Nick Saban, Alabama. Welcome back to the college football playoff.
Let's have a look at the All-State Mayhem moment. God is Here, brought to you by Allstate. SEC championship game was another Alabama-Georgia classic. Jalen Hurts coming off the bench, finding Jerry Jeudy with the tying touchdown, and then that's the game winner. Jen Latta with Jonathan Ledbetter of Georgia.
Here now with Georgia defensive end, senior Jonathan Ledbetter. Obviously, your reaction to being 5 in the college football playoff.
Just a little bit disappointed. We came up short in the game last night. We played as hard as we could. We feel like we came to play and we showed up in every quarter except the fourth, and they beat us. In the very end, and it's kind of repetitive because last year the same thing happened with the quarterbacks. But we gave it all we got. We feel like we should be in the top 4 because we are a top 4 team in the country, and I think everyone knows that. Despite what the committee thinks or what people think, it's kind of a bummer, but I'm still thankful that we still get to go to a good bowl game, and we're going to keep playing.
When you look at the way that the rankings have gone the last few years, no 2-loss team has ever made the top 4. When you lost to LSU earlier this season, how much did the pressure amplify, ramp up for this program to go the rest of the way undefeated?
I think we said we needed that loss to just kind of revamp the team and to figure out who we were, but it kind of put our backs against the wall for the rest of the season, and then we responded in every way possible, and in every sense we were beating every team we played, except this last one. We came up short, like I said, but it's those things early in the season when you start shaping your team and molding your team, and you got to get past those humps in the road, and wish we didn't take that L at first, and things probably would have been different for us, but you can't go back in time.
All right, so now you think about the way that LSU loss motivated you. What does your next opponent have in you guys from a motivation standpoint? What are they going to face?
I just got to really say good luck, just because, we just had a team meeting, and, no one wants to be done. No one wants to have, the season end, and I just think that you know, they're going to come out hungry. It doesn't matter who we play. It's just going to be a scary sight because this will probably be our best football game.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Jonathan, thank you very much. Georgia overall, Jonathan's been around, but they're a young team. You think a young team might respond more favorably? These dudes are going to be back and in this mix for years to come. Westgate, Las Vegas Superbook in the Capital One Orange Bowl. Alabama a 2-touchdown favorite against Oklahoma. In the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, Notre Dame and Clemson. Notre Dame an 11.5-point underdog. Man who always in games of chance. Chris Felipe, the Bear, joins us. Hey, Bear, if you were going to pick a dog, who's more likely to pull the upset? Outright upset. I'm not talking covers here.
Well, Oklahoma has beaten Alabama before in a bowl game in the past, so I think that would be the more obvious one, especially with the health of Tua at the quarterback position, and maybe with a month to prepare, the Oklahoma defense could find some vulnerability in Jalen Hurts. So if I had to pick one of those, it would be Oklahoma. Another underdog that will be in the New Year's Six that I think again could garner a lot of interest would be UCF. If you look at the rankings, they're probably going to wind up playing LSU, and you hate using the crutch of, well, look at LSU, but there's a good chance LSU, a couple of those players might be looking towards the draft, and you have a very emotional, very fired up UCF team for the second straight year, getting a chance to beat an SEC team in the New Year's Six. The Knights could again be a very live underdog.
And it's not necessarily a really explosive offense that if that were to be the matchup in the New Year's Six. In the playoff games, who's more likely to pull an upset? Is it Oklahoma?
I think it's Oklahoma, yeah. Prolific offense with Kyler Murray, and we've said this before, this is definitely not one of Nick Saban's best defenses that he's had at Alabama. Now we'll wait and see what happens at quarterback for the Crimson Tide in this game. As bad as Oklahoma's defense has been, guys, they just do enough. 2 touchdowns against West Virginia a couple of weeks ago. They get the safety. Yeah, they get the safety. They get the interception late against Texas. They haven't been great at takeaways. If they could just get a takeaway, and when you give the football back to Kyler Murray, that's a potential 14-point swing. I think the best chance for an upset would be Oklahoma.
I disagree. I think Notre Dame. And I think Clemson is a really good team. I think Notre Dame's a complete team. I don't see a lot of weaknesses. The way they play, I think there'll be a bend but don't break defense against Clemson. And, here's the thing. I think Clemson's secondary, you want to talk about a vulnerability, I think their safety play is a vulnerability. I think Ian Book, the way he spreads the ball around the field, I think he could have success throwing the football. I think I think that can be a close competitive game. And because of that, I think that would be the most likely. I get what you're saying about Oklahoma. I hear you guys, and I hear their offense does enough. Defensively, Kyler Murray has to be near perfect. So, because his defense is going to be consistently pretty poor, I think I will go the other way because of that.
They know that. And they come into the games realizing they're going to have to score
on
almost every possession. So it's not like they come in thinking, well, I hope we're pretty good on offense today. No, they come in knowing we're going to have to score every possession nearly to win football games. But I am going to go with you on Notre Dame and their ability to beat Clemson. I think Notre Dame's a solid football team. They don't make a lot of mistakes. And we talked about it earlier. Clemson will take some chances on the defensive side. They'll take their chances. And if Brian Kelly and Ian Book in this offense can pick the right guy, they put you in a position where they have so much pressure on you that you don't have a chance to find the guy that's open. It might be the guy out the backfield. If they can do that, they'll have a chance to score some points. I like Notre Dame better than Oklahoma's chance of beating Alabama.
I'll be honest, I'm a little bit surprised by the number in the Oklahoma game. Because of Kyler Murray and because they can score. I will throw a little bit of a curveball here. We've done a number of national championship games where they have a month off. The top 2 finishers in the Heisman Trophy go to New York City. One guy wins, the other guy loses, his defense is mad. You could have that in this matchup. You very simply could have Tua going to the Heisman next week. You could also have Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray may have ended up stealing this award late. Does that motivate Alabama to try to send a little bit of a message? Because how many times have we seen that where, you can say whatever you want, it's not a big deal. It motivates players.
Vince Young.
It motivates the defense. Remember the year Oklahoma played Florida State and Winky won the Heisman? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Torrance Marshall went out to the coin toss. He said, I'm here to get my boy's trophy back for Josh Heupel. Yeah. It motivates guys.
Who are you picking, though?
I think that game, I'm calling the game. So I think the game will be very close. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a Big 12-style game.
Yeah, I agree with you. You had that game a few years ago in the Sugar Bowl and Alabama. Well, we
were motivated, remember?
Better be into it. And I will make this prediction for you right now. If you get down to the end of the game as it was with Georgia and Oklahoma last year in the Rose Bowl. Lincoln Riley's a smart dude. He'll learn a lesson. He will not take the game out of his quarterback's hands this time, as he did late with Baker Mayfield last year. These are the 4 coaches. Brian Kelly making his maiden voyage into the playoff, though he's played in a national championship game before. You know the other 3 guys.
You're watching College Football Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
So the quarterbacks in the college football playoff. Tua Tagovailoa against Kyler Murray in the Capital One Orange Bowl, Goodyear Cotton Bowl, Clemson and Notre Dame. Trevor Lawrence against Notre Dame's Ian Book, who's with Holly Rowe.
I think a very seminal part of this season has been the change at quarterback. And I know that's hard within a team, but how did you go from, being on the bench to now being the face of this program that's now into the college football playoff?
It's something I always dreamed of, being able to come, to a university like Notre Dame and play D1 football. So, being able to take over and lead this team has been awesome. So we're extremely excited. Still have some games that we want to win and, win a national championship.
The whole team is gathered there together, and you guys see your name pop up, number 3. What went through your mind in that moment?
It was just really good vibes in there. Everyone was extremely excited to see that, and just to see our hard work pay off. And like I said, there's still games that we want to win, but today was good just for the whole team. Just there's a lot of excitement, and everyone's just really excited.
I know that you haven't had a chance to look too much ahead at Clemson, and you guys will dig into that later, but on paper, you see them play. What excites you when you like, oh man, that's going to be cool because of this?
I think we're all just excited about, the challenge we have in front of us. Obviously, the record speaks for itself. They got a great defense, got a great D-line that everyone talks about. It's just a great challenge for us that we're all extremely excited to go against. Yeah.
I know you guys said that it's exciting to be in the college football playoff, but that's not the goal. So how do you stay focused on the game ahead, but still have your eye on a possible national championship?
Just keep doing what we've been doing this whole entire year, sticking to our process, taking it week by week, and that's gotten us to where we are today. So, we got 2 more. We got to go. We got to win.
Okay, my last questions, and then I'm going to let you go. The process, like for you as the starting quarterback of this team, give me a quick little piece of what is your process that you're going to be doing today, tomorrow, every little day moving ahead.
Personally, for me? That'll just be getting in the film room, meeting with Coach Reese, really studying their defense, leading these guys on and off the field, and then just having fun with the game.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
Holly, Ian, thank you. That's the scene at UCF. The New Year's 6 bowl pairings are coming up in the next hour.
Dove Men Plus.
The question has been answered. The field has been set. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma. The wait is almost over. Launches to the end zone. Caught for a touchdown. Welcome to the big time. Breaks a couple of tackles, and they will not touch him. The College Football Playoff, December 29th on ESPN.
Can't wait for the playoff matchup, year 5 of the playoff. Alabama, Clemson, Oklahoma have been regulars. Notre Dame making its first appearance. Tigers and Irish will play in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl on December 29th. Crimson Tide and Sooners in the Capital One Orange Bowl in Miami also on Saturday, December 29th. We are awaiting anxiously the pairings for the others. New Year's 6 bowls. College Football Playoff Selection Committee helps make those pairings. Their rankings, of course, are used in that as well. There's some bowl tie-ins. Group of 5 team has a tie-in. We'll go live to UCF. Hope to hear from Ohio State quarterback Dwayne Haskins and from Urban Meyer coming up. I'm told that most of the New Year's 6 is in. Graphics producer Brandon now on his second job of getting those built. Joey, what New Year's 6 matchup would you like to see right now in some of the other bowl games?
Go ahead. Kirk was trying
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Kirk,
go ahead.
I'm looking forward to seeing UCF and who they play. Like, I want to see now that, Darryl Mack is their quarterback, and they're sort of moving into the next phase of UCF. And who they have to play against is going to be another big dog, and they'll have another chance to make another statement. I want to see their approach to it. And so I want to see, and you guys mentioned it, the way they beat Auburn last year, does another big dog step into this game against UCF and take them lightly and think, we didn't get to the playoffs, so we go play this game and get their teeth kicked in. So that's the one I'm looking forward to.
I do the Rose Bowl with you every year, and
the Rose Bowl every year,
love it,
especially when Ohio State's there. Yeah. How about the matchup with UCF? No matter who they end up playing, everybody talked this year that they were maybe a better team last year, but they were higher ranked this year. That's because of the equity and the sweat that they put in. Another opportunity to continue to build that brand, so next year's team could benefit from a bowl win this year. So that's how you continue to wonder why they're getting more respect. It comes from opportunities like this.
So if it's UCF versus LSU, and then Devin White and Greedy Williams don't play because they're getting ready for the NFL.
Could happen.
Oh,
I mean, that you just
and it's still I'm
throwing that out there.
You would think that LSU though,
they can match up with LSU,
and you would think that LSU, if two players don't play, you still expect LSU to be able to show up and play a good football game, period.
I just think that you're trying to build equity, and then all of a sudden there's an excuse.
You know what? That doesn't matter.
Maybe
LSU.
I don't believe
chip on your shoulder. How many passing yards in the Rose Bowl this year? Ohio State, Washington State.
Washington.
Washington. Yeah,
Washington.
Does that cut that number in half now?
I'm taking that one back. You're talking about UCF.
Cut that number
back on that.
Wait. I was like, we're an hour 4. You think Jake Browning's about to throw it around?
Reese is always really smooth at correcting someone. That one not so smooth. Reese popped back like, whoa, wait a minute.
Hour 4. Hour 4.
Got that graphic built yet? Just roll that in here.
First of all, I resent you saying it wasn't smooth because I've always got his back. You know?
I said you are the best ever at correcting people and making it smooth.
So
but that one, Jesse threw you a curveball. You didn't see that one coming.
There would be a lot of passing yards if it were Washington.
What about with the secondary of Washington?
Hey, you know what? Those dudes are really good. That'll be a great matchup. That'll be
Taylor
fun.
Taylor Rapp and Byron Murphy, and those guys in the back end. That's one of the best secondaries in the country. And to see that matchup with Ohio State's receivers and how well Dwayne Haskins has played, and we've talked about it, he's had the best year in Big Ten history. That's an awesome matchup. And you know what you love about the Rose Bowl, too, is just the tradition. And I love the tie-ins, trying to keep it so that there's a Pac-12 team there, there's a Big Ten team there, and the history of that game, I think, is one of the reasons what makes
He won't stop laying on the field every year.
No,
he just goes out there and lays on the field.
If I could have a tent and just set up camp out there, I'd be content.
It's good.
It's the most beautiful place in college football. It's the best setting for a big game. Nothing touches it. I mean, there are great places. Everywhere we go, great. Can't touch it. Hey, we're going to go to UCF, hear from them live as they anxiously await. We're told they're still working and finalizing some of these pairings for the New Year's 6 games.
The question has been answered. The field has been set. Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame, Oklahoma. The wait is almost over.
Field is set, so too now are the kickoff times. On December 29th, the first college football playoff semifinal in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl will be Clemson and Notre Dame. They'll play at 4 o'clock Eastern time, followed by the nightcap in prime time, Alabama and Oklahoma in the Capital One Orange Bowl, 8 o'clock Eastern time. Calling that one?
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, you go.
You know which one you're calling, whatever.
I hear.
Prime time.
Guessing you will.
Game day will be down there, too.
I think game day will probably be in Miami as well. So we know what the college football playoff semifinals are. What about the New Year's 6 bowls? Those are now finalized. Let's take a look at the matchups, starting with the Chick-fil-A.
Does it seem like Big Ten matchup?
Does it seem like Florida and Michigan play in a bowl game every year?
This is the Jim McElwain Bowl.
It'll be
Florida head coach. Who's now the wide receiver
It'll
coach
be
over
6-3.
I think he's the head coach as of now at Central Michigan, right? I think he took. I think I saw it on.
Moving quick.
Somebody verify that for me. I think he took it just a little.
No,
while.
he did.
Bear says that. Bear says green light that.
Green light that.
Green light it. Bear, thank you.
So
he's still playing. Bear's still playing back
there.
there.
If Bear's still here, what's the over/under on that game? Because some offensive struggles in that ball game and some good defenses. 12, 16 over/under.
It's going to be a 6-3 ball game.
Chance for Michigan to rebound from that.
Face to the frying pan to the face.
Yeah,
they should be really motivated.
I would think.
Florida 2.
Should be.
Yeah, Florida also
should be.
Will they be?
Yeah, and you
probably not.
question
Rashawn Gary's already out.
Yeah, he's not good. All right, so that's one of the New Year's 6 games. The PlayStation Fiesta Bowl, LSU and UCF.
Love
what do you
about
think
that?
about that?
25 wins in a row. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern time on New Year's Day.
That one. Josh,
I love that too.
Gets his team. They're going to be fired up. Another SEC opponent and another opportunity for UCF to show they can play with a big boy.
And what UCF just showed with Darryl Mack at quarterback is that this offense can still score points and they can throw the ball. That was a big question for them, I think, playing Memphis this past weekend. Could they have as much success through the air? Darryl Mack looked phenomenal. 6'3", 230, can run.
Big boy.
He prevents a lot of problems.
Gave up a lot of rush yards against Memphis.
401.
Yeah, and this LSU team is going to watch that film and say, let's go run it at him.
Wonder if the bowl game last year gets LSU's attention. I know Greedy Williams and these guys, Devin White, but I'm just saying, if you're Coach O, you just show the game film from last year's bowl game against Auburn.
And UCF is ranked higher than LSU.
Yeah.
So when you're talking about get their attention, that should get your attention.
Yeah.
Wonder what the line will be on that. Bear, is that out yet, Bear?
6.
LSU minus 6.
That's what he said. That's Bear's line.
Give or take.
Give or take.
Bears.
Oh,
Give or take her.
Bears pretty spot on. So.
All right, yeah. That is New Year's Day at 1 o'clock Eastern time. Next New Year's 6. We know this one because there's a time with the Big Ten and Pac-10 with the Rose Bowl game presented by Northwestern Mutual. Washington, first Rose Bowl appearance since 2000 for Purple.
Wow.
One year they won the Pac-12. Recently they went and played in the college football playoff. And the Buckeyes are in there as Big Ten champs.
Yeah, Ohio State last time, I think it was 09, Oregon, right? This is a matchup where Washington's defense against Dwayne Haskins and all that firepower. I think that matchup itself will be a great.
And Washington, a team getting healthy at the right time. Trey Adams back now at left tackle. Remember, everyone thought he'd be a top 10 pick this year, had the back injury and missed the game against Auburn to start the year. He's now back in the starting lineup. He's got 15 practices to get ready. Hunter Bryant back at tight end as well, big weapon.
Washington better find some offense. It was a struggle.
They can run the ball. They can run the ball.
They better find some offense.
Yeah, the Huskies' 2 running backs can go the distance, and that's been a problem for the Buckeyes, giving up
long touchdown.
Gave up another one to Northwestern.
The last time we saw Washington's offense, they didn't go the distance in anything. So
they did, but they won.
They got to get some improvement.
How about getting the?
All right, let's go to the last New Year's 6 game, the All-State Sugar Bowl. Okay, cool. Hook 'em.
Okay. I like what you did there.
You've been waiting for 3 hours.
Yes,
I like
Made
that.
it all worth it right there.
Been waiting on that one.
Hey, the loser of the think about it. Texas just lost to Oklahoma. Yep. Georgia just lost to Alabama. Those 2 are playing, and now you get the next 2 matchups. That's pretty
consolation prize.
I think that's a real thing too, though. My junior year at Florida, we lost the conference title game against Bama and just sort of kind of moped into a bowl game with Michigan State. We got Plaxico Burrist.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, so one of these teams needs to
both
show
of them
up.
lost.
You got him paid.
Both of them
so
lost.
which
So
one
we could have 2 teams just wandering on in and see what happens.
The one thing, I think if you're looking for the motivation, Texas is still growing as a program. Georgia coming off a national championship game appearance and then a devastating loss in the SEC championship. But as I said earlier, they're young. So it might be a little more inclined to step up and be ready to give it their full focus. It's not once the game starts. It's the focus and preparation. 100%. Once the game kicks off, everybody wants to win. They're trying then. It's the preparation. All right, Rob Mullins is back with us now, the chair of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. Rob, you guys also put together these New Year's 6 matchups, and you have some pretty compelling theater with some big traditional teams going head-to-head. What was the most challenging aspect of putting together the New Year's 6?
Well, obviously you want to get the matchups that reward the highest ranked teams as best you can. And then, you also want to pay particular attention to not sending the same teams to the same bowls. So those are kind of 2 pieces you want to make sure you get right.
We've been talking a little bit about motivation and teams having disappointments at not being in the playoff. What consideration is that given when you try to establish matchups?
Yeah, we don't give that much consideration. Obviously, we rank the teams and then, based on their ranking, try to place them in the right spots. But there isn't much conversation about disappointment and how teams will show up. This is based on the body of work to date.
All right, Rob, you've done a great job in terms of being the chair of the selection committee. It's year 1. They always say the biggest improvements from game 1 to game 2, maybe year 1 to year 2. What's been the one thing that you would look at that you would say that you've learned the most about the process and functioning as effectively as you have in your role?
Well, fortunately, I had an opportunity to be on the committee for 2 years and see Kirby be the chair and also work alongside Jeff as a committee member at the same time. So I learned a lot from those guys. But, you know, we have a great staff here at the CFP, outstanding membership. And I think the one thing is to just make sure that you pull out everything from all these football experts. You know, there's 13 football experts. And as a chair, you want to make sure that everything gets on the table. And you set up a system and a process whereby everybody can be candid, everybody can bring their expertise and make sure that it gets on the table. And so that's the part that I want to make sure we get right.
Rob, I got one quick question here for you at the end. In terms of making these New Year's Six matchups, UCF, Florida, in-state matchup, what consideration was given to having the Knights play against the Gators?
Well, you know, as we looked at those 4 slots that we were going to fill, Michigan being ranked number 7 obviously deserved to stay closest to home. So that's what placed them in Atlanta. Obviously, UCF had played in Atlanta last year. So that kind of set them in the Fiesta Bowl. And then it just made sense to put Florida into the Peach and then LSU out to the Fiesta.
Rob, thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you down the line during the playoff. Appreciate all of your time on Tuesday nights and here on Selection Day as well.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate everything.
You did a terrific job. The athletic director at the University of Oregon. Pleased now to be joined by the head coach at Georgia, Kirby Smart. His team going to the All-State Sugar Bowl to take on Texas. Kirby, let's start with the playoff. What was your reaction when you saw that the committee had you 5 but did not have you in the playoff?
Well, I really wasn't surprised by it. You know, we did what we could. We went out and played a great Alabama football team in what was a great football game, but we respect the decision of the committee and certainly respect the job they have to do in making that decision, which is really tough.
Is there anything that you would advise from all of your years in coaching, being part of teams that were in the BCS and now teams in the college football playoff, that you think the committee should keep in mind when making these difficult decisions?
Well, I think it's hard to say that now. Every year, it's year to year. There's been years that SEC teams have played their way in through the SEC championships, and then in a situation this year where 2 teams were already in, you know, one of them kind of played themselves out. But well, we had an opportunity. We didn't take full advantage of it. Certainly played a really high-quality team, but we're really excited for the opportunity we've got going forward and getting to go play in the Sugar Bowl.
When you play in the All-State Sugar Bowl against Texas, the question of motivation comes up. What role does a coach play in trying to make sure that guys put the disappointment aside and then are able to put forth their best performance on that type of stage?
Well, I think the first thing, you start looking at the opponent, and you say, when you've got a really quality opponent in the form of Texas, who we've got a lot of respect for, Tom Herman and his staff, they do a tremendous job. We're looking forward to that opportunity. I think the caliber of opponent you're playing controls a lot of that, because I know how our players will see Texas. They've got one of the best programs in all of college football and a great atmosphere. We're going to kind of meet halfway, get to play in one of the all-time classic bowls, one of the bowls that I think Georgia's been to 9 times now.
And you get an opportunity to go back there. Have you had a chance to talk to your team yet about this and tell them where you're playing?
Yes, we visited with them just a little while ago, just a few minutes ago. We've got a gala event tonight, and I know all these guys are excited about the opportunity. Obviously disappointed in the outcome last night, but give credit to Alabama. They've got a championship football team, and we really believe this senior class is one of the most special ones we've ever had. With a chance to beat Texas, they could be the second winningest senior class to ever come through Georgia.
Well, Kirby, congratulations on a great season. I know it didn't quite finish the way you wanted to, but we see that roster, we see the level of play, and you guys are going to be in the mix for years and years to come. Best of luck in the All-State Sugar Bowl against Texas.
Thank you, guys. Go Dogs.
All right, Kirby Smart joining us from Athens. Here is our Capital One Bowl Mania preview. I'm told it is card number 5, and look, I did it without even knowing it. Starting quarterbacks for the college football playoff teams. Before this season, neither Tua nor Trevor Lawrence had a single start, and now they have their teams in the playoff. Ian Book had 1, Kyler Murray had 4.
Experience overrated.
Just be good, Pally.
Playoff Selection Show, presented by AT&T.
UCF perfect again. They've won 25 consecutive games, started 5-0 this season, outscoring their opponents by more than 31 points per game. Prolific offense behind Mackenzie Milton was rolling. Memphis had him on the ropes in mid-October, but the Knights did what they do. They found a way to win, beat the Tigers 31-30. 24-game winning streak when Mackenzie Milton suffered that horrific injury in the game against USF. So glad to hear that he is making progress in his recovery. Great to have a message from him on College Game Day on Saturday. Then UCF behind Darryl Mack beats Memphis to win the American Championship for the second straight year. And now they are headed back to the New Year's Six, this time to the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl to take on LSU. Wyatt Miller, one of the leaders of the night team, join us now. Wyatt, what was your reaction when you saw where you were going and who you were playing against in the New Year's Six?
Reese, we're always excited when we get another chance to play another game. Anytime you get an extra opportunity to step out on that field and another month of practice with your brothers, we always never take it for granted. We're excited.
You guys made a significant statement by taking down a team from the SEC last year in emphatic fashion. Now you get another opportunity to do so against LSU. What can that do for your program if you guys are able to follow that up by beating LSU?
I think it just builds our resume. Last year we had 13 straight wins, and this year we're going on 12. So, like I said, just building that resume and putting up good numbers against good teams, and we're looking forward to that opportunity, just another chance to prove ourselves.
Darryl played great yesterday, but how would you describe the impact of Mackenzie's injury and what it's meant and how the effect it's had on your team?
During the game, it was horrific. You see that and you hate it for a guy like Mackenzie, a guy that loves the game and whatnot. But we're lucky to have two guys on our team that can step in and DJ just come in and it's no letdown. A guy that can sling the rock and can run it too. And I think you saw that yesterday, the kind of player that DJ is.
After you guys fell behind yesterday, what changed in that game?
I think we came into halftime and this team is full of fighters, of winners, of guys that never quit, and I think you saw that yesterday, that we've got a bunch of guys that whatever happens, we're never going to lay down, and I think we showed that yesterday, and that's what we came into the half and into the locker room saying is, hey, we're never out of this with the way the defense plays in the second half and the way the offense that we have, that we're never out of it, and I think we showed that.
Wyatt, I got a chance to chat with you briefly when we were in Orlando. You're an impressive guy, but if there's one flaw, I understand you grew up admiring David Pollock. Is that true?
It is. So when I was in elementary school, I had a David Pollock jersey.
Elementary
and I
school.
wore it to practice. Yeah. So when I played in reg league football, so I had a David Pollock jersey and wore it every day. That jersey's probably still somewhere in my room. I need to find it. My mom was trying to find a picture of it, but she couldn't. But yeah, I was a big Pollock fan.
Picked a good idol there, my man.
That's a fatal flaw. Character decision. Congrats, man.
You know what? I would like for David not to be able to hear me, as I would say that's an admirable choice. He's a good guy to admire. Wyatt, congratulations on the winning streak. Best of luck in the PlayStation Fiesta Bowl against LSU. All the best, my man.
Thank you so much. We appreciate it.
All right. Wyatt Miller from UCF. Just the off chance you've been out doing something else all day. This is the way the college football playoff matchups look. Notre Dame and Clemson in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl. That'll be December 29th, 4 o'clock Eastern time on ESPN. Then Alabama and Oklahoma in the Capital One Orange Bowl. That's the 1-4 matchup at 8 o'clock Eastern time. Saturday night, December 29th. 30 minutes left in this show. Take it all the way home. We've got McElroy, Feinbaum, and Vilma over there. You know the graphic in the bracket now, Greg. Everybody's waving. Say hello. Who's going to win it all, Greg?
I'm leaning towards Alabama. I look at what they have on both sides of the football, and I just happen to think they're more complete on defense than Oklahoma is. They'll win that game. And they're equally explosive offensively, too, with all their supporting cast around Tua Tagovailoa, assuming that he's at 100%. On the other side, I like Clemson, but I expect it to be a close game. And then Alabama eventually wins the championship yet again. And what is another version of Alabama-Clemson whatever it is now?
Part 8.
Part 8, it feels
like.
Whatever it is.
Yeah. Reese, I think we gave this answer back in August, but we're going to give it again. I like Alabama and Clemson. I think we started the year talking about them eventually meeting, and I'm pretty sure now we're going to see that game, Jonathan.
Well, I like Clemson. I like Clemson because I look at the matchups and I look at how Tua gets his yards. Tua has to sit in the pocket, and he doesn't want to throw the check down. He wants to throw down the field. It takes 4 or 5 seconds for those routes to develop. The best defensive line in Clemson is going to eat on the offensive line of Alabama. Tua is going to get pressured. He's going to get hurried. And then you look at the other side and you say, well, this is not the best defense that Saban has, but you have one of the best running games in Clemson and Travis Etienne. They can run the ball. We already know about Trevor Lawrence and how good he can throw the ball. So that matchup for Alabama, I think it's favoring more Clemson, and it's a nightmare for Alabama.
Yeah, it certainly is. I feel like I'm looking at Galloway over here. He's very upset with our picks. Is it a little too chalky for you guys? Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, you want to keep balancing?
Oh,
that's perfectly great.
Throw us another one.
That's what Galloway said.
Thank you.
Galloway said, throw him another question.
Throw us another one. Give us something.
Break down both games.
Yeah, perfect. Or line by line. Yeah, we'll do a little bit more of that.
What do you think of Ian Book?
Yeah, perfect. We'll start with him.
All right, here we go.
Great intermediate
Ian Book,
thrower.
yes.
People call him a game manager, but the guy's a better athlete than people realize. Extremely accurate. Just tell us when you're ready for us to be done filibustering over there.
This show's been on too long.
Herb Street, by the way, it's pretty good.
He is. People are saying that these games are going to be one-sided, though, which I find fascinating.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
I think
both these games to be
No,
highly
they're
going to be good.
Funny, last minute wins. Probably.
Herb Street's getting punched.
The
man's getting hot over here.
Vilma, how would you fix UConn's defense quick?
UConn's defense, easily. You just terminate the program.
Yeah.
Oh, you fix their
my
defense.
goodness.
Don't ever put them through that ever again. No, I don't want to see that defense.
Why would you stop the program? It is the most prolific program in the history of college sports because they won all these.
Suspended 3 games for mishandling domestic assault accusations.
So for now, this is Ryan Day's club.
And my job is just to keep this place until he gets back.
McLaurin dives, touchdown. All Ohio State today. Touchdown, Ohio State.
And the Scarlet and Gray are roaring now.
Ball in trouble. We getting coached back. It's going to be a whirlwind coming through.
McSorley, he'll be sacked. Touchdown, Ohio State.
Huge win for Ohio State, given everything that's happened with this program.
From the beginning of the season, this defense has been an issue.
Marcus Bailey punctuates this upset.
We've got more questions than answers going forward. Urban Meyer in disbelief at what he is seeing today. Going for 2 in the win. Rolling out. Throws. No, incomplete. Ohio State survives.
That was a street fight, and my gosh, it just kept back and forth, back and forth.
There is so much on the line for this one.
You're 10-1, they're 10-1. This is the
Haskins to the corner. Haskins, touchdown again. How about this? And it's blocked. Blocked out of the air. Touchdown, Buckeyes. Buckeyes blowing the Wolverines away. Watch out. 78 yards. Doesn't get any better than this if you're an Ohio State fan.
Championship weekend. Buckeyes find a way to get here again.
Wilson fires toward the end zone. Committed for it for a touchdown. Haskins running at the 10. Goes back middle of the field. Caught by Dixon. Wide open touchdown. Ohio State will lock up a Big Ten championship. Doesn't get any better than this right now.
Big Ten has not had a good run of it in college football playoff of recent years. They won the first one with Ohio State, but they haven't made the field the last 2 seasons for 3 straight years. The conference champion has been left out. Ohio State did go as a Big Ten representative as a non-champion in 2016, but Ohio State finishing 6th in the college football playoff rankings. They're on their way to the Rose Bowl to take on Washington. Urban Meyer with Marty Smith.
Urban heading to Pasadena. What are your thoughts about the fact that you're going to coach in the Rose Bowl versus the college football playoff?
Well, I've never been to the Rose Bowl. That's one of the few bowls that never experienced. I grew up 2 hours from here, and I watched Woody Hayes and Archie Griffin and the Buckeyes play the Southern Cal in the Rose Bowl. So it was, a bucket list thing. And Kirk Herbstreit and I actually talk about the Rose Bowl every year. That's his favorite bowl game. So we're honored to represent. First of all, win the Big Ten back to back, and then go represent our conference in the Rose Bowl. So it's all good.
How do you describe this team's journey in 2018, start to finish?
I think resilience. I even sent a text out, a group text this morning. Resilience, toughness, and they love each other. It's you hear that and it might sound like coach speak, or because sometimes it is. You know, every team's different, and there's one way to find out. What those guys have done here the last few weeks is, you know, I'll never forget that, and I don't think Buckeye Nation will ever forget it.
What about you personally? What's been the impact of this season for you?
Rugged, but I learned a lot, and like I said, my love for the school, my love for my players has never been stronger, and especially when I saw how they just persevered. You know, there was a couple. We lost Austin Mack, we lost Demetrius Knox, and then you lost arguably the best player in college football. And the psychological impact, now that it's over, I don't mind, because we all love Nick and we're going to see him out there. But you take the best player off your team and one of the best guys in the locker room, just the guys, he's a man's man, and all of a sudden he's not there. The psychological impact on that was felt really throughout the whole year.
When you look beyond the Rose Bowl personally, what's the most important thing for you as you move beyond?
Well, I'm not worried about me. I'm just, you know, a lot of things are very important to me. But what's really important to me is this place and this program and making sure this thing keeps pumping along, because it's in a pretty good place right now.
All right, last thing real quick. You're used to sending great players to the NFL. You do it every single year. You got a great one behind center right now. How do you, I see that smile, how do you guide Dwayne Haskins through his decision-making process?
Oh, only if I'm asked, and I imagine I will be. And, you know, the one thing I always warn people is going too soon. You know, the one thing about the next level is patience isn't a virtue in the NFL. You know, it's especially that position. And so I know Ryan Day has a lot of experience there as well. So when asked, if asked, I'll give my 2 cents. I've never told a player what to do because I don't think that's fair. That's a family decision. But he's also earned that right to be in that conversation, because the way I don't think early in the year, you know, a guy that throws a nice curl route and an outcut and all that makes you a dime a dozen. The guy that can go battle the way he battled and get first downs and the toughness and leadership he started to develop, he's earned it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time.
Great to see you, Marty.
Guys.
Urban, Marty, thank you very much. So I'm sure there's some disappointment, but Urban loves the tradition, and he referenced the conversations that the two of you have had about the Rose Bowl.
I find it amazing that he's never been there.
Yeah.
And now he's going to bring a team outside of the tunnel, and to be able to bring them out into Pasadena and play in the Rose Bowl. He's grew up in Ashtabula, Ohio, and he's been with the Ohio State program as a GA, and of course as now a head coach. And I know the playoffs are a big deal for everybody out there, but when you're from Ohio and you're the head coach at Ohio State, and it's the first time you're taking a team into that venue with the field, the setting, San Gabriel Mountains, he'll be hyped. He'll be very hyped. It'd be great to see.
And he's going on with the quarterback that just had.
I'm getting hyped
because y'all get it. Y'all get it, but like we didn't get it. Like we played in the South, like
the Sugar Bowl.
The Rose Bowl aspect of it. Like until you go, like you really don't. And we've done game day there the last couple of years, but I didn't get that growing up. Like I didn't. Y'all.
Yeah, which is
y'all lived for that.
Which is understandable. And it'd be the same way if we came down south and went to bowls down there. Where we go, Citrus Bowl.
Yeah, but the Sugar Bowl is sacred down.
4 or 5 times.
I mean, growing up in Canada, I was thinking about Maple Leaf Gardens. I don't know about you guys, but whatever. Keep going.
But he's going to Rose Bowl with the quarterback just had the best season passing the ball of anybody ever in the history of the Big Ten. And it's probably unfortunate this will be the last time we see him play for Ohio State. He's had a terrific year, and Dwayne Haskins will make a trip to New York, hopefully for the Heisman presentation. But this team, at the end of the season, was a team we were expecting to see at the beginning and throughout this season, a more balanced team against
then they went away.
But if you say we saw them at the beginning, I mean, that defense, though, they gave up 31 points to Oregon State. And if you go look back at Oregon State's season, I don't know how many times they scored 31 points.
They didn't.
And so, exactly. And so it was a defensive issue there all season long. They had some games in there, but they are peaking now. And it's going to be an interesting matchup with the Washington team that we talked about struggled to get points in the Pac-12 championship game.
But a very good defense.
Ohio State should be favored.
I think I'll look back at this 2018 Ohio State team and just always remember how resilient they were. And getting through the 3-game suspension of Urban Meyer at the start of the year, then all of a sudden losing Nick Bosa for the season, who could be the first pick in next year's NFL draft, and having to overcome that on a defense that was already struggling and giving up way too many explosive plays, and then a 29-point loss against Purdue, one that nobody saw coming in a game that easily could have derailed the season. I just think their ability, even though it was too little too late, even their ability to come back late in the year and in a giant rivalry game against Michigan, put up 62 points and sort of salvage their season in that giant rivalry game, move on to win the Big Ten championship, and put themselves in position to send Urban Meyer to his first Rose Bowl, to me, is very, very special what this team was able to accomplish.
Kind of Urban Meyer's strength is working the psyche of a football team.
Totally.
And I think the reason we saw him stressed out at times on the sideline is because he couldn't get this team to turn. He couldn't get them to buy into some of the emotional aspects of the game and how important it is until the Michigan game. He finally got them to come out and play up to that ability because they were backed into a corner. Not a whole lot of people thought they could beat this Michigan defense, and they torched them, and they played inspired. It carried over into Indianapolis. As Joey said, now they hit this Rose Bowl playing and hitting on all cylinders to see if they can keep that mojo going.
Coach looked good. Good coloring. Looked better than we've seen him on the sideline.
Good coloring.
I'm just telling. There's times on the sidelines he looked.
He may have just
pale, looked fatigued. Hey,
Yeah.
and I still wonder, and y'all might not, but I still wonder if this is the last time he will be the coach at Ohio State. If this is the last game, the Rose Bowl.
Yeah, what I was about to say.
I don't wonder that. I believe he'll be back for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
and if he is, I mean, they certainly have talent coming back. But I agree with you. You do wonder the magnetism of the Rose Bowl and the opportunity. Is that the high point to step? I don't know.
I felt leading into the Michigan game, based on his mannerisms and knowing him pretty well, that I thought that was a very fair question. I think he looked like the Urban Meyer have come to expect to know on the sideline at Michigan. I thought it carried over into Northwestern. So, boy, he looks different, and I'm sure when he gets on the sideline at the Rose Bowl, he's going to really have that energy going.
That juice?
Yeah. So
as long as
I don't know.
Team continues to play the way they did these last two games.
I don't know.
Easier to look better.
I thought prior to the Michigan game there was a pretty good chance he may step down, and after the wear and tear of the year, and I think now I tend to think he'll be back.
I think Ryan Day should win the Broyles Award. I really do.
Yeah.
Just the job he did stepping in those first 3 games with the defense struggling, having to score points every week, and then the clinic he put on against Michigan. Statistically, the #1 defense with motion shifts, beating man-to-man, finding ways to get guys open.
Will
He's
be
an incredible head coach.
Very
and
soon.
a very good one.
Very soon.
Maybe one day on Sundays. The guy's very good.
Yeah.
Ohio State smashed the Pac-12 champion, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl last year in USC.
I remember
Pac-12 had an awful bowl season last year. Now another matchup. Ohio State with an opportunity maybe to prove a point. There's certainly Buckeye fans disappointed that they're not included in the playoff. The one constant has been if you have a loss on your resume that is a blowout type of loss, it's been that along with 2 losses has been a disqualifying factor. It's one of the things Ohio State would like to improve for next year. Once you get into the playoff, once you're selected, there's quite a journey that goes along through Selection Day that takes you all the way up to playing in the semifinals. Nobody better to be a tour guide than Tom Rinaldi. Today is decision day. What answers the question, who's in?
With no more wins to earn, points to score, holes to climb, there's just this: apprehension, tension, anticipation, decision.
It's one of the most stressful things ever. You don't know what's going to happen.
You're also nervous and you scared and you're hoping that the team gets called.
Everybody's standing around the locker room, watching the show, waiting to see where we're going to go.
Making the playoff for the second time, the Big 12 champion Oklahoma Sooners.
The first year we went, that was crazy because we had about 50,000 people in the stadium.
We've simplified it a little bit the last couple of years, but we have a big team party and make it a festive environment.
The #1 team in the country, the reigning national champion Clemson Tigers.
Well, we were actually very excited to have the opportunity, but I was a little relieved too because I really felt like our team deserved the opportunity.
The Alabama Crimson Tide for the 4th straight year.
It's a wow moment, so you look back and look at the people, but it's a tremendous feeling of unity.
In an instant, it ends. Preparation begins immediately and overwhelmingly.
Everyone's fired up just because of the thought of getting into that college football playoff. It was very hype. It was a lot of enthusiasm. The intensity level was very high on the field. The music was loud. The music was hype. So we were definitely ready.
After 14 hard weeks, the matchups are set, leaving coaches to deliver one more message. We have opportunity. Now, let's earn victory.
My message was that we were in a place that we expected to be, and we were getting to go play in one of the most historic bowl games there is against a great opponent, and with the chance to win the whole thing.
Congratulations, you're one of the Final Four. I think you'll always remember this. Now you have an obligation to go play your very best.
Has become the holy grail. That's what the bracket looks like. Alabama, Oklahoma, Capital One Orange Bowl, Goodyear Cotton Bowl, Clemson, and Notre Dame. Number 1 seed has never won the college football playoff. No team has finished undefeated, though we have 3 undefeated teams this year. Who will these guys pick? We'll see when you come back. Alamo Bowl, Iowa State.
Okay,
won
here we
9
go.
since 2000 playing Leach. Gardner Minshew, 4th straight bowl appearance for Wazoo. That's December 28th, 9 o'clock Eastern on ESPN.
That'd be awesome. I think Iowa State's got a good passing defense with that 3-man change it up kind of stuff. It'd be.
Let's play a game on these games. Who's more motivated?
All right, let's play it.
All right.
Who you got?
I got.
Both.
I think both these
Both of those.
All right, it's push. Fair enough. Fair enough. Push.
David Montgomery running the ball against that defense.
Yeah.
That'll be fun
Both
to
teams
watch.
have something to prove.
Yeah.
All right, push.
Good one.
We got next.
Reese, you calling that game?
No, going Cyclones, I think, more motivated
Okay.
there. VRBO Citrus Bowl, Kentucky.
I got Kentucky more motivated.
I've got Kentucky more motivated. Maybe
I
not
like
good
Benny
enough,
Snell.
but more
Benny
motivated.
Snell's
Right.
just motivated, period. Benny Snell, every time he takes
Snell, yeah!
is just motivated to play.
How about Trace-
I like Kentucky's more motivated.
Trace McSorley in his last game at Penn State, winningest quarterback in school history. Been banged up this year, really gutsy performances. It'd be great for him to go out with a bang.
It's a trump card there.
Yeah, it
I
is.
like that
Yeah.
one.
The Camping World Bowl. Hey, you know what? This feels like the old Big East or
Totally.
remember the Ernie
Talked about
Davis, the
this, yeah.
Express movie?
Yes.
Syracuse, West Virginia.
Donovan McNabb, yeah, that's right. Versus Mark Bulger. Is it a Big East throwback for you?
Yeah.
Motivation.
Better on the defensive
Motivation.
side
I'm
than
going to go
Syracuse.
Syracuse. Yeah, I'm going to go Syracuse.
I like Syracuse too. I think Dino Babers does a nice job, and they're better defensively than they've been in recent years. I like Syracuse.
That's a pack a sandwich game.
Yeah.
That's a 4
Yeah,
hour
that's going to take a while.
Yeah.
I'll take a wild hack and say that Syracuse is going to win that game.
He's going to have to pay Dino Babers soon, isn't he? Well, what was the line in Rounders from Teddy KGB?
He beats
Pay that
me.
to men.
Pay that to men. It's money.
Bear's going to collect his own money by picking winners and help you do the same. Bear, who do you say right now in the playoff? Who you got winning it all? Winning each game, winning it all.
I think both favorites win each of the semis, and I'll go with Clemson to beat Alabama in the title game. They did it a couple years ago. Last year, I think we saw Clemson was limited offensively, what they could do through the air. But I think with Lawrence and those wide receivers, they would have a great shot, and I think they are the second choice to win the title right now between Bama. So give me Clemson over Bama.
Bear, you're on record.
Thank you.
All right.
40 days out, right?
Yep.
Yeah, nothing can change. Don't worry, Bear.
And that would keep the streak alive. The number 1 seed has never won the college football playoff. Who you got?
With a huge caveat. If Tua is healthy come playoff time, especially if it gets to them playing Clemson in the national championship game, then I think Alabama wins it all. Against Oklahoma, they're the best defense the Sooners have played. Oklahoma won't score as much as we're used to. I don't think Oklahoma can stop Alabama. And in that title game, if it matches up with Clemson, I've said it all year, it's the best team Saban has had because of the weapons on offense in the passing game. If Tua's healthy, I think Bama wins.
We got.
Go ahead.
No,
yeah, Kirk's calling again.
Yeah, so go ahead. Go around the horn.
I feel like we're going to get a lot of Bama. I think we would all get that anyway. So I picked Clemson preseasons. I'll stick with Clemson.
There you go.
Yeah, this is the first time ever I was hoping Jesse was going to eat up the last 2 minutes of the show. Because just like Bear said, we're like
usually you're trying to get some time, and now you're like,
we need to get Vilma.
We're like a month out right now, and
got plenty of
so
time.
before we get the scouting report on the injuries, Marquise Brown for Oklahoma and Alabama Tua, I'm going to go with Clemson right now.
Dang,
They're healthy.
Well, I mean,
I'll take Clemson.
I would have taken Alabama. I thought everybody was going to take Clemson.
Well,
I was trying to make some.
I was trying to balance it.
Trying to balance it out a little bit, but
divergent.
I'd like to congratulate Oklahoma and Notre Dame on making their way to Santa Clara. It's all guaranteed now. All you guys picking Alabama and Clemson, Sooners and Irish making their way out there. Classic
Wouldn't that be
matchup.
something?
And we got much more about the postseason, all the bowls coming up, 4 o'clock Eastern time. That's just a few minutes away. Coming up on ESPN2. And then 8:30 Eastern time tonight, got a bowl selection special at on ESPN.
Anybody want to stay with me?
Galloway, Pollock, you guys are staying for that, right?
Yeah, we're going to hang around.
I'm in for real.
No, I got to get
hang
back
on
to
to the
New
end of these
York. There's some
tapings
stuff I had to do. I had to make that call.
Yes, you do. You're telling me about that.
You're on every television show they make. You'll be.
You know what the one's the most important though? This one with you right now.
Oh,
absolutely.
So cute. What
do you think about
that?
That's right.
Yeah, the old
He's killing it. He's on every time I flick the channel around. My man's on there breaking it down.
No matter what, right?
He is.
Hey, we've got another college game day to do, though. So Army Navy from Philadelphia next Saturday morning at 9 a.m. before that American Classic rivalry. It'll be a great one. Jimmy V Classic women's basketball coming your way right now. It's been fun. Playoff is set.